Hello, welcome in to another video, and we're live streaming this as well. We are going to watch the one liberal man versus 20 MAGA women feat Dean Withers, surrounded by Jubilee. Now, it's gone viral since it was posted 3 days ago, sitting at right now 3.4 million views. And from what I've seen and heard, this is going to be a pretty rage baiting video. So get ready for that. Let's begin.
We need strong alpha males like Donald J. Trump, Spencer Pratt, and our loved Charlie Kirk.
Did you
On
just
the street,
unironically say strong alpha males?
we have
Not
laws
off
in
to a
favor
good
of women
start.
getting leadership roles. We're taking
Okay.
opportunities away from men. You are
You
oppressed
just-
more than me.
Men are men, and men have testosterone, and men love beautiful women. And trust me, I would prefer a man that actually looks at women and is sexually attracted to women.
Dude.
They had to make things up to get Trump. Trump doesn't have to be a sexual predator. Any woman would love to be with Trump.
All right, listen, put your hand up if you would have sex with Donald Trump.
There's no way this is real. Oh, there's the winner. Star of the show.
Has Donald Trump been a good president for women, or has America moved backward from expanding women's rights to debating how far those rights should go? I'm John Regalado, and from Jubilee Media, this is Surrounded, where one brave soul faces a room full of disagreeers. Today, we are diving into what feminism means on both sides of the aisle, abortion rights, and President Trump's record. I'm here with our featured guest, progressive commentator, Dean Withers. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
You ready to go?
Oh, I'm excited. This will be fun.
All right, are you all ready to debate Dean? Yeah! All right, let's get into it.
I'm Dean Withers. I'm a 21-year-old liberal. I do political debate for a living, and today I'm surrounded by 20 Trump supporters again. But this time, they're all women.
Get ready for it.
My first surrounded claim is, men aren't better at leading than women.
If you would like to debate this claim, please get to the chair in 3.
Okay, Dean's claim is men are not better at leading than women.
3, 2, 1.
Good to see you again.
Welcome back, Lori. How you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing phenomenal. So the first claim is that men are not better at leading than women. And I'm honestly appalled that you as a woman would disagree. But I mean, if you want to start it off by telling us why you do think men are better at leading than women, the mic is all yours.
Well, how I would like to start this off is I'd like you to define what a woman is.
Well, sure. I think that the definition of what a woman is ultimately irrelevant to this debate, and I'm willing
No,
to...
it's not.
See, this is what the right does, folks. When you ask a question about Trump or the right or anyone, they ask you what's a woman. Hey, you bring up Donald Trump's sexual exploitation. They say, hey, what's a woman? Right? What if Donald Trump was a woman at that time? They pivot away from sexual exploitation or from their misogyny to transphobia.
Not.
I'm willing to pre-assume your definition of what a woman is, i.e. an adult human female. See, if I were to give you my definition of what a woman is, an adult human individual that pertains to the social and cultural characteristics typical that of a female sex indexed to their gender identity, well, then all of a sudden we're going to be speaking past one another because we define the word woman differently.
Exactly.
So I'm more than
for you
happy to
bring this
pre-assume your
prompt in the
definition.
first place is kind of silly because you don't know what a woman is.
Well, I just told you what my
And
definition of the word woman is. You just
know what,
simply
I think
overlooked
it would
it.
also depend on what leadership role that person would take. For instance, if you wanted Kamala Harris, who you voted for, to be the president of the United States, we have a problem with that, and I'll tell you why. It's not necessarily the woman, but it is necessarily foreign countries, for instance, the Middle East. If I go to a Middle East country as a woman, I can't show my hair at risk of being stoned.
Why are we talking about Middle Eastern countries when the prompt is men are not
Because
better
you're
at leading than
asking
women?
about leading. You voted for Kamala Harris. I think she would have been a horrible leader. Foreign countries don't always see women as respectful as they see a man. A woman leading.
So it doesn't matter how people see the American leader, because at the end of the day, the American leader is the most powerful person on planet Earth. That is not debatable. And we have the most powerful military in the world. So, meaning if they want to start a war with America simply because they're a woman, they know that they are going to have to face the most powerful military in the entire world. So this point is kind of moot because the woman president will have the American military behind her back. Same with, like, doesn't matter if it's a man, woman, whoever it is, they're going to have the American military behind them and the American people behind them. And they're still the most powerful person in the world. Doesn't matter who they are.
this country, for instance, when you go to doing foreign policy and all of those things, they would not have the respect that a man would. I can also say as a woman, depending on your age, if I've got PMS, honey, I'm going to make different decisions than I would as if I didn't. If I'm going through menopause, I might have hot flashes or whatever else. I believe as a Christian woman, men are supposed to lead. We're supposed to help. And I'm totally comfortable with that.
Okay, well, thank you, Lori. So the first thing that I'd point out here is that your position that maybe foreign countries wouldn't respect a female president as much as a male president, I don't think is represented through the fact that on the global stage, Harris had a significantly higher approval rating than Trump during the election. And there's a reason for that.
Because she would have been a pushover. They would have walked right over her.
And that's exactly why she had significantly better policy, better character,
No,
would have been a
not at
better
all.
president for America.
Not at all.
But ultimately, once again,
Ultimate
Lori,
failure.
the topic of debate is not, was Harris a better option for the president than Trump? Because even if we want to look at women and men on this macroscopic level of evaluating one woman compared to one man, even if it was true Harris was a clown and Trump was awesome, that still wouldn't mean that generally speaking, men are better at leading than women. The last point that you made there was about PMS, and I think that you're like indicating that women are more emotional than men on average.
They are, 100%.
Okay. Then tell me why men commit 92% of violent crimes. Tell me why they're more likely to self-unalive, commit suicide. So you think that testosterone is what makes men more emotional?
Absolutely.
Okay, well then you just conceded the debate.
No, I didn't concede.
You just said that
because
absolute.
This is the right, folks, and it's funny seeing it in real time. Keep in mind, millions of people are watching this, and millions more are gonna watch it, right? She just said women are more emotional because of menopause, because of childbirth, whatever. And then she said men are actually more emotional to the statistics that Dean brought because of testosterone, which would be a concession that men are more emotional, not women. Let's continue.
Men are more emotional than men 5 seconds after saying that women were more emotional than men.
And that's kind of like somewhat of a red herring, because what I'm trying to say to you, women are more emotional. They just are, in more of a, I can change my mind depending on my mood. Now, you're bringing in anger. You're bringing in violence.
Women are more emotional on like they want to change their mind on things, i.e. what to eat for dinner, but men are more emotional on anger, violence, murder, suicide. How is that any better? And how is that good leader qualities?
Bringing in
is anger an emotion?
It is, but to a different extent. And
what does that even mean? Honestly,
if you've got a man that's violent, out of character alone, I don't want him leading the country.
Yeah, that's why you voted for.
Oh yeah, you want to get into that? I know that's another problem, but I'm happy to get into that.
I guess we could get into that on the front.
Never accused of.
That's why I don't like.
Okay, we got to pause there. You've been voted out. Let's return to your seat.
They have to vote them out, right? There's 20 women surrounding Dean. They have to get them voted out, and then it could last 30 seconds. It could last longer. Let it in.
Welcome.
Hi.
I'm going to give the mic to you. Why don't you tell us all why men are better at leading than women?
Men are better at leading because as a woman, I can tell you that we're emotionally manipulated very easy. We tend to be compassionate because we, as a woman, and getting pregnant, it's inherent in us. Why? Because we deal with babies.
So women deal with babies, therefore women can be manipulated. I don't think that argument follows. But once again,
can be easily manipulated.
Women can be easily manipulated.
And convinced, yeah.
What's the argument for that?
It's inherent in us.
Okay, just saying that it's inherent is like me saying that what is actually inherent of women is that they can't be easily manipulated. That doesn't give me any substance to underpin your position when you just simply underpin your position by saying, well, it's inherent. And it doesn't push this dialogue forward. I would say that men are probably easier to emotionally manipulate than women, or else they wouldn't be culpable for 92% of violent crimes. We could emotionally manipulate a man by making him lose a game of Fortnite. The next thing we know, there's 3 holes in his walls. All right, same thing with self-unaliving statistics, suicide. Suicide's a really bad thing, but it is true that men are significantly more likely to kill themselves than women on average. Same thing with drunk driving, gambling. And then when we look at women, they actually perform better in the fields that are less indicative of emotional outbursts, such as performing well in school. And I mean, this is all underpinned by biology. There was a study done by the American Medical Association that proved that if you're operated on by a female compared to a male in the operating room at a hospital, that you're less likely to die or to experience any post-negative operative outcomes. Why? Because women are biologically designed to deal with stress and pain better than men because they have thicker dendrites in their brain. So ultimately,
now I like that Dean brought up the statistics, and a lot on what I've heard argue, or like what I've heard in reference to arguments, is going to be the fact that like women don't take as much like risks, i.e. the gambling statistics, where men take more risks. And this was actually an argument brought up on this stream But how that's actually like not a valid point is because it's a job. The women take classes, they study for this, they take the same amount of risk as per the statistics the outcomes of these statistics that they find, because they do the same job. They're underrepresented. They do the same job. They do a better job, right? So it's not that they take less risks, right? Because it's their job to do these surgeries. It's their job to do these life-saving surgeries. And you're more likely to survive if a woman performs on you compared to a man.
The science and the empirical facts completely reject the conclusions that you formed.
Not at all. Men are more rational, and women.
You've been voted out by the majority.
Yeah, men are more rational, but then men commit more crime. Crime is irrational.
So please return to your seat. If you want to be the next debater, please get to the chair in 3, 2, 1.
Hi.
Hi,
What's your name?
Annette Davis-Jackson.
It's a pleasure to meet you.
Yes, yes.
So let's hear it. Why do you think that men are better at leading than women?
How about I know that men lead better than women because women have the babies, you're emotional, but more important, I have a dad. I have a dad who was very strong, and when I see what President Trump is embodying, I say, and I know that you can roll your eyes, but you know what? My grandmother used to say, you can roll your cotton balls, but you sure can't shoot them. So men are strong just like Trump because in the first 100 days, what did he do? He started writing executive orders.
Yeah.
He started writing executive orders day after day after day after day after day after
a
day.
violation of the Constitution, trying to ban trans people out of the military, trying to ban trans people from owning firearms. All these violations of people's rights.
Women would probably say, hey, ooh, let me take a break. That's why.
Jesus Christ. Okay.
Trump and Vance have taken more breaks than Biden and Harris did. Just want to point that out there.
Well, listen, clearly I disagree with you about Trump, but that's actually not relevant to my counter argument. I'll tell you why. Because even if Trump was a good leader, that doesn't mean that therefore men are better at leading than women on average. Like, for instance, in the same way that you could give an anecdote of a man that you think is good at leading to justify the claim that men are better at leading than women, well, I could just give an anecdote of the opposite. Hitler was a man, he was a terrible leader, therefore men are worse at leading than women. All right? But clearly that's not how it works, because we cannot attempt to allow an anecdote of what we think about one individual man to then exist as a portrait for a generalization about all men.
Why did you have to say Hitler?
Because he's obviously a bad leader that's a man?
Yeah, and
Do you agree?
The president of the United States, which is the commander-in-chief, Donald J. Trump, is a great leader.
Okay.
And he's a great leader because he won a landslide.
Okay. Yeah.
And
Not a landslide. You take a look at the actual states. He won by a couple thousand, if not roughly 200,000. If you take a look at the swing states, so yes, the Electoral College he won by a landslide, but not like the individual states. It's because people didn't go out to vote in 2024 because, you know, some people didn't want to vote for Harrison. Because of that, they didn't vote for Harrison. Harris lost.
if he could run again, he would run a landslide again.
Yeah. Well, guess what? He's not. He's a terrible president. His policy sucks. How about this? What's your favorite Trump policy? I mean, a bill passed through Congress, then signed into law.
I'm a former college coach, and not having men in women's sports.
I'm sorry, what bill was that?
President Donald Trump signed Executive Order 14201, keeping men out of women's sports on February 5th, 2025. This is an executive order. Not a bill passed by Congress. Separately, House Republicans passed the Protection of Women's in Crisis in Sports Act of 2025, H.R. 28, which aimed to write similar restrictions to federal law, but the bill passed the House, but then stalled in Senate and never became law.
Oh, no.
Well, I'm sorry, what bill was that? I asked you a very specific question.
We got to stop there that you've been voted out by the majority. Please return to your seat.
Okay.
All right. If you want to debate this claim, please get to the center in 3, 2, 1.
Hi, Tracy.
How are you?
I think I remember you. Were you on my first surrounded episode?
Maybe.
Well, I'm going to pass the mic to you. Tell us why you think men are better at leading than women. It's worth me reminding you and maybe everybody else in the room that so far a lot of the people who've come up and sat in that chair have really missed the mark. Like that last lady. She told me that men are better at leading than women because she likes Trump. Okay, let's hear in general why men are better at leading than women.
Well, this is why I think you're going to be surprised. I actually agree with you.
And why are you in the chair?
And I respectfully disagree with some of them. Well, I'm just saying some of the points that they were bringing up about a woman being pregnant and because somebody can carry a baby that they're not fit to lead.
Oh,
I mean, it's the same argument where we say men go to work and come home and the woman stays and handles the household and the children. So is that not a powerful position? And I also have to, I'm respectfully disagreeing here, and I want you to give me an example. If you can tell me...
I'll say this, their conversation doesn't really go anywhere, so I'll just mute it. She's brave. She's a brave soul for walking up in front of 19 people that she's supposed to be agreeing with and telling those people that she disagrees with them, right? So props to her, right? She's definitely changed her composure since the last time that she was on Jubilee with Dean Withers. But props to her for going up there and saying that she disagrees with the other women. Let's continue.
Who would be the person having to protect you? I mean, everybody's built differently. I feel like I would have to be protecting you. I'm taller. I'm sure I weigh more than you. I mean, you can take as many classes as you want.
Wow. Yeah.
But it's true, Dean.
I'm not, listen.
Men and women are...
I'm not going to disrespect your ego the same way you're attempting to insult me, and that's fine.
Well, no,
See, I'll be the bigger person here.
No,
that's the difference between the left and the right.
It's a size comparison. So it depends on where this conversation is going. If you're looking at body
That's
type...
funny, though.
I'm sorry, there are women that are larger
Can
than
you
men.
guys vote her out because she doesn't think that men are better at leading than women?
Tracy, it does sound like you agree on this prompt. So we're going to have you return to your seat and bring in a disagreeer.
Okay.
All right, if you disagree with this claim and you want to be the next debater, please get to the chair in 3, 2, 1.
Oh, God.
Hi.
We saw the first.
Your name's Julia?
Julia Kate. So I want to ask you, inherent in your statement that men are not better leaders than women.
Yeah.
There's the sense that you believe men and women are different, correct?
I think that there's obviously distinctions between men and women, or else we wouldn't have two different words to refer to two different groups.
So what are some of the distinctions?
Well, I mean, there's distinctions in the sense of cultural and social attitudes and behaviors. There's going to be that are, of course, innate to men and women because
So
I
you
don't
don't
think
believe
that
in innate
prescriptive.
distinctions?
I don't think that prescriptive gender norms exist. Now, like from your perspective, that we were to define the genders on the basis of sex, of course, then there's going to be sexual dimorphism and there's going to be differences present within that. Of course, like there's a plethora of differences. Listen, I'm not denying that there are differences between men and women because once again, if there wasn't differences between men and women, well, then we wouldn't have two distinct groups.
Okay, so we agree on that.
My claim is I don't think that any of the differences that exist between men and women would amount to being relevant to justify the claim that men are better at leading than women.
Do you
I'll
think women are better at leading than men?
No, I actually think that gender is completely irrelevant to the
Interchangeable is
prospect
what you're saying.
of if somebody is better at leading than the other person. I ultimately think that there's going to be no determinative ability, regardless if we're making the claim that men are better at leading than women or women are better at leading than men, to ever make that prescriptive
so what
claim.
I'm hearing is that men and women are essentially interchangeable in your mind.
Well, in my mind, once again, I just don't believe
yes
in
or
the
no?
prescriptive gender norms.
Okay,
And I think
gotcha.
that ultimately one's gender is irrelevant
can
to
I
their
ask you a
leadership
question?
capabilities. If you can tell me what are the relevant differences between men and women
Yes.
that make men better at leading than women?
Yes, we can go back to the hunter and gatherers when men were the ones going out to hunt and women were the ones staying with the children and gathering fruits and nuts. Men are the people that go towards risk, that go towards provision, naturally. Why is it that in today's, even our influencer community, we have more women that are drawn towards beauty, makeup, things like family, schooling, and men are more drawn towards traditionally masculine things? It's innate in every culture that you see this trend. We are hormonally different. That's been mentioned throughout this place. You as a man do not know what it's like to have a cycle, to have a period, to have your hormones go up and down.
Yeah.
That is insanely significant for a woman's ability to lead. And women will complain about being scared to walk on the streets at night, and yet they'll elect the same politicians that release the criminals on the street.
Do you think that women should lose the right to vote?
I think that I'm not talking about that today.
You just got to get a quick yes or no, then go
I
back to the
think
topic.
that we need strong alpha males like Donald J. Trump. Spencer
There's
Pratt
no
and our
way. She said we need strong alpha males like Donald J. Trump and Spencer Pratt. Spencer Pratt is a nobody. He lost the mayoral race. What are we talking about?
loved Charlie Kirk, who
Oh,
will
Jesus.
have secure borders, who will not let criminals
Did you
on the
just
street.
unironically say strong alpha males?
Strong alpha males, yeah.
Bro, get a grip. Stand up.
You,
Listen.
bro, get a grip. You're a man. Do you want to mansplain to me?
Well, I mean, actually, you just said that men are better at leading than women,
I
so you
do.
should listen to every word that
I
comes out of
am
my mouth
listening.
per your perspective, right?
Mhm.
So if you think that men are the strong alpha males and women are the emotional followers, why
I
won't you
think-
follow my lead and listen to what I have to say?
First off,
because
sir,
you don't believe what
that
you
is
say.
a straw man. I believe that male and female
not
are
a
created
straw
equal
man.
in the image of God. We each have the same dignity and the same value. We have the same brain, the same rationality.
You think men or women are equal, you think they should have equal leadership qualities as well within relative perspective.
but we have different and distinct roles.
Okay.
Why is it that women can get pregnant? Only females can get pregnant.
Well, of course, that would boil down to the physical biology.
Physical biology.
Because
and isn't that innate that women are more geared towards child rearing and child raising than men are?
So once again, the way that we started this conversation was by me agreeing that there are going to be differences between men and women.
Exactly.
You just simply
So men
Can
are
I
better
finish?
leaders.
I would love if I could finish. You can't say because there's differences between two things that thereby innately one of the two things is going to be better at leading than the other. Like, I think that's ridiculous. Listen, once again, my claim is that the differences that do exist between men and women ultimately don't amount to justifying the claim that men are better at leading than women. And let me respond, because you made a lot of claims.
On and on.
I think it's been the opposite.
Okay.
To respond to your claims,
Thank
you
you,
said
sir.
that there's a difference in the hormonal balances of men and women that make women more emotional. Well, I mean, I already went over this with
It's not even just more emotional. It's that our bodies are not equipped to handle the same levels of cortisol as men. We
They're
need
actually more
care.
equipped.
Look at Donald Trump. The
They're
man
more
literally
equipped.
lives off of Diet Coke and McDonald's.
Okay.
We could not do that.
Okay,
Why are
listen.
we praising an 80-year-old man off of living off Diet Coke and McDonald's? Which, by the way, he thinks Diet Coke can kill grass, therefore it can kill cancer. That's the same man we're praising.
Actually, women are more equipped than men to deal with stress. It is proven by
That's
the science.
actually not true.
No, I'll tell you. You could look this up. Anybody at home could look this up. Women have thicker dendrites in their brain, and study after study after study has concluded
Existing
time
human
and time.
studies show that pregnancy and childbirth are associated with complex neuroplastic changes. There is no robust evidence that childbirth causes a global increase in dendritic thickness or density that confers uniformly superior stress resilience in women compared to with men. Stress reactivity and coping capacity vary widely within both sexes and are shaped by hormonal status, environment, mental health history, and social context, rather than a single structural brain change linked to childbirth.
And time again, that this gives women the ability to better manage their stress than men. And you actually brought this up. You brought up childbirth. The reason why women have thicker dendrites in their brain, giving them a greater navigation ability, giving them a greater ability to deal with their pain and stress, is because of childbirth. Okay,
Yes, because
and that's exactly why
childbirth is
women
a
can
big
deal with their
thing.
stress better than men. So your claim that the opposite is true is wrong. And plus, once again, when we look in society, how men deal with stress compared to how women deal with stress, well, when a man gets mad, he commits a violent crime, he kills his wife, he kidnaps his children, he sets his house ablaze. And this is why men are significantly more likely to commit every single crime on the books, including crimes that do not have a necessity for any use of physical strength, such as arson, cyberbullying,
If you think
or
women are such good
terroristic
leaders, why won't
threats.
you let me speak?
Well, I'll happily let you speak in response to the things that I've said, as long as you're able to stay on
I
topic
am
and
able to
respond
stay
to the
on
meat on the
topic
bone.
because I'm a woman and I have a brain. Thank you very much.
Okay, well, I guess women are better at leading than men.
No, we're not. We're good in our certain.
Why is she arguing against herself?
roles. We have our strengths and our values. We're good at raising children. We're very smart and adaptable. But men are the people that need to be out there fighting crime for us, protecting us, so that we feel safe and we can keep our children safe. Why do you think that just historically, more men are CEOs, more men are presidents, senators, whatever kind of leadership role you want to talk about? That is not because of white supremacy, colonization, or some kind of legal limit. It's because men are drawn to those roles. Today, women have the same exact rights as men, and still, a lot of them choose to stay at home or feel that they can't stay at home because of societal pressures.
Okay, well, I think that you said it there at the end.
Societal pressures, you literally said it yourself. Oppression/societal pressures are the reason why also social roles that people still have intact, especially conservative Christians who say women should be at home cooking, cleaning, taking care of the kids, and push that on to their wives or partners or whatever. So that's going to be a great example.
Again, societal pressures. Societal pressures are the reason why I think that we've seen more men in positions of power, more men in leadership fields, and more men's calling the shot. But if you're the position that underpins your claim here would be that if we see an over-representation of men in a field in comparison to women, that men are then by definition better performing in that field. So in the same way you're claiming that because of a vast majority of leaders are men, therefore women are worse at leading, would you also claim that men are better at surgery than women because 85% of surgeons are men and 15% of surgeons are women? I just want to direct yes or no to my question so then I can follow this up with a dialogue.
Become surgeons because it's a more masculine thing. It takes more masculine traits.
Could you
to have
answer my
to
question?
Look at the blood. I said yes, but I want to ask you:
I
would
have
you
to hop in
agree
here.
that men are more oppressed today than women? Men are told that they're toxic for being.
Men are more oppressed than women is a crazy quote to say.
Being masculine. The only laws that prevent any gender
Please
from
don't
getting
vote
a
her
role.
out. I need to respond.
We have laws in favor of women getting leadership roles. We're taking opportunities away from men. We need
What?
You are
You
oppressed
just
more than me.
What? That is a white, straight, cis man. And you are a woman, and you're saying Dean Withers, a white, straight, cis man, is more oppressed than Julia, I believe her name is. Are we... there's no way this is real.
This chick is crazy. Okay, listen,
No
I
way
think
this
that
is
you're
real.
crazy because you just said that I'm more oppressed than you, while also claiming that I'm a better leader than you after making the argument that disproportionately men have been in positions of leadership throughout history when leadership is what grants power. But anyways, insanity. Listen, I asked you a question. I said, do you think that men are better at surgery than women? Because 85% of surgeons are men and 15% of surgeons are women. The reason why I asked this question is because you made the claim that men are better at leading than women because a vast majority of leaders have been men. You said, yes, Dean, because a vast majority of surgeons are men, therefore men are better. The science says, no, men are actually worse at surgery. So the American Medical Association did a study in conjunction with the Journal of the American Medical Association. They did this study on 1.4 million patients over 6 continents in 14 years. And what they determined consistently is that when we account for every single confounding variable that could possibly exist, every single time, men are significantly more likely to kill a patient on the operating table or to give them negative postoperative outcomes in comparison to women. It is one of the most well-accredited studies ever conducted in human history that is
in JAMA, sorry, surgery have found that patients treated by female surgeons have slightly lower rates of adverse postoperative outcomes, including death, complications, and readmissions compared with patients treated by male surgeons.
reasonably concluded that women are better at
I
surgery
don't know why it took me that. Yeah, I don't know why it was hard for me to read JAMA.
than men, even though they account for a minority of surgeons. And this is exactly what debunks your claim that if a field is overrepresented
That's
by
not
men,
what
that
I said.
therefore men are better
I said
at performing in it.
It's reflective of our natural desires and what men and women are naturally drawn to.
But women are better at surgery, even though they account for a minority of surgeons. That completely debunks your argument.
Sure, that could be a thing, but I'm saying
So you
that naturally
concede.
men are drawn towards roles of risk and provision. That's because of innate biological characteristics.
women are better at
and
surgery.
I said that you're oppressed because of society telling you that you need to be a beta woke man. You are not
Why are we using alpha and beta in a literal sense?
like oppressed as a leader. Like instinctually, you want to lead. You want to teach me. That's because of your nature, and I appreciate that very much. But I disagree with your claims.
Okay, well, I mean, you have to concede here that your argument that men are better at leading than women because more men are leaders than women
That was
is
not my
false. And the
argument. That
reason
is
Okay, we gotta stop there. We're out of time, so please return to your seat.
Pleasure.
I like
my
that
next
guy.
surrendered claim is Donald Trump is a misogynistic sexual predator.
Dean's claim is Donald Trump is a misogynistic sexual predator.
Okay, if you want to debate this claim, please get to the chair in 3, 2, 1.
Hello, my name
Howdy,
is Shiva
howdy.
Bagari.
What's your name?
Shiva Bagari.
Shiva Bagari. Well, would you like me to take it away by explaining to you why I think Donald Trump is
Sure,
a misogynistic
yeah.
sexual predator?
Yeah.
First and foremost, he's a sexual predator because a court has held him civilly liable for raping a woman by the name of E. Jean Carroll. Of course, raping somebody is something that would make one a
Why are
sexual
we not
predator.
in there?
In 2005, he also boasted about engaging in sexual violence by sexually exploiting beauty pageant contestants at the beauty pageants that he owned by barging into their dressing rooms and looking at their naked bodies. And this isn't an allegation from some woman that you could defame and say just wants money or fame. No, this was an admittance of guilt, something that Donald Trump said he did on Howard Stern's radio show. And I see you shaking your head. I'll happily play you the clip if you want. We also
Yes, please,
see...
please show me the clip because I
What did you
do
do?
not believe it. Yes, take it out.
Don't worry, I got it preloaded.
Okay, good.
So you have done that. Now, I'll tell you the funniest is that I'll go backstage before a show. Yes. And everyone's getting dressed and ready and everything else, and no men are anywhere. And I'm allowed to go in because I'm the owner of the pageant, and therefore I'm inspecting it. I'm inspecting. Right. I want to make sure that everything is good. Yeah, the dress. Is everyone okay? They're standing there with no clothes. Is everybody okay? And you see these incredible-looking women, and so I sort of get away with things like that.
Why don't we start there? Mike's yours.
Okay, well, he said that he probably sees them. It doesn't say they're naked there, so
It does.
They might have. No, it doesn't.
He said that they have no clothes on. When you have no clothes on, you're
No,
naked.
who said that they didn't have clothes on?
Donald Trump.
He didn't say that in the clip.
Yeah, I'll show you.
Okay, again, I want to hear
That's
it
fine.
again.
Yeah, the dress. Is everyone okay? They're standing there with no clothes. Is everybody okay? And
There you go.
Oh well, it's a like he didn't actually say clothes, but
Yeah,
he
I'm
said clothes.
Look how low MAGA has to go to not have critical thought and common sense. What other word that starts with "clo" could it be in that context? Let's critically think. If you're watching this, critically think And guess down below, what other word could it possibly be besides clothes?
I think it's important for us to be intelligent, rational people.
Okay, so
you're saying no clothes. And then Howard Stern says, so you're like a doctor.
I definitely don't agree
Why did
with
Howard
that?
Stern say you're like a doctor? Because doctors get to see people naked.
Okay, I don't agree with that. But men are men, and men have testosterone, and men love beauty.
Saying men are men just normalizes rape, normalizes sexual exploitation, and normalizes misogyny. "Quote unquote," men are not men. No, men are not men. Men are not sexual exploiters. Men are not rapists. Men aren't inherently violent. I guess I should say inherently rapist, because that's the topic of this conversation, and we shouldn't be normalizing it. We shouldn't be normalizing rape or sexual exploitation.
Beautiful women, and trust me, I would prefer a man that actually looks at women and is sexually attracted to women than someone that is not. And
She's sad. She just said she would prefer someone who sexually exploits women than a gay man.
Actually like looking at women too, and I'm not even a lesbian, but I think women's bodies are beautiful. It's like
Ma'am,
art
I'm
to
sorry.
me.
No,
it's art to me.
You have a sexual attraction towards women, you probably are bisexual. Just want to point that out there.
Now, disgusting.
No, and
you just told me that you would prefer a man who, quote unquote, likes the female body and is willing to barge into the private women's only dressing room to look at them while they have no clothes on.
I said
compared
before
to
that
you're saying I think that real men with testosterone are sexual predators.
So you just lied about me right now because I said I don't believe what he did was right.
But it was
but
I would prefer a man who likes to look at the naked bodies of women.
Then over someone that is attracted to other men. Yes,
why?
Absolutely, because it's not natural.
It's not natural to be gay.
It's natural to be attracted to the opposite
Define
sex.
natural.
It's not it's natural. First off, it's natural to be gay. There are studies that found that the brain comparing gay men to straight men are different. And also, if natural, she'll tell us here soon. If she means just seen in nature, we see it in nature as well.
Natural is what God made, Adam and Eve.
So
God made us. God made gay men, therefore it's natural.
God didn't make gay people?
Well, actually,
I thought that God was the creator of all.
No, that's sin, and sin came from the devil.
No, sin is a conscious decision.
But isn't God the creator of all powerful, all knowing?
Being gay is not a conscious decision.
Well, actually, being gay is a conscious decision.
Okay, could you choose to be gay?
It's an action.
Could you choose to be gay?
Yes, absolutely.
Could you choose to be?
I could have chosen to be gay when
She said that she finds women's bodies good looking, and now she's saying she could choose to be lesbian. I'm not gonna lie, that might be a sign that she might be bisexual. Just pointing that out there.
I was younger.
Could you choose to be attracted to your mom?
A lot of women actually
could you choose to be
me,
attracted to your mom?
Said
if
no.
attractions are a choice, could you choose to be attracted to your mom?
Can you choose to be a pedophile?
No, I couldn't choose to be a pedophile. Could you choose to be attracted to your mom?
Oh, so there you go. He thinks, no, it's an action, honey. And you can choose to sin or you can choose not to sin. I try to keep the devil away from me.
Can I just get a clear answer to the question?
And no, this is a clear answer. But see, you don't come from a biblical standpoint.
What are the first 4 books in the New Testament?
I come from a biblical standpoint that there's 2 sexes. Yeah. There's no 50 different genders. That came from a pedophile named John Money who lied about a study to push reassignment surgery on thousands of people through his lie that butchered this poor boy and put him through hell. Reimer twins. Go look it up on Oprah. Yeah. Okay? So
I'm going to ask the question again.
You don't live in
I'm gonna ask
reality.
The question again.
I live in reality where I know that a tree is a tree, a woman is a woman, a man's a man, and if you are choosing...
And a moron's a moron.
And if you're choosing... Oh, see? That's what they do. When they can't...
Trans women are women. So yes, you're right. Women are women.
Win an argument, they go for calling...
Okay, pause. Everybody pause. Dean, we got to ask that you don't do personal attacks.
Okay.
That's a warning.
Okay. All right. So first and foremost, the question once again was, could you choose to be attracted to your mother? The reason why I'm asking you this question is because you had suggested that all attractions are a choice.
It is a choice.
So please, with just a concise yes or no, could you choose to literally be sexually aroused by your mother? So there's 2 possible answers to this question. The first possible answer is yes, Dean, I could choose to be attracted to my own mother. And the second possible answer would be no, Dean, I could not choose to be sexually aroused by my own mother.
You're trying to do a hook on me.
So what's your answer?
Could I just, do you have a yes or no for that?
No, because this is a hook. Because I will never be attracted to my mother and father because it's a choice, but I would never do that because I'm a Christian.
So could you choose?
That's it. I'm not going to say that on camera.
She
That's
said
weird.
it is a choice,
and I'm not
by
going
the
to
way.
be in the
Just wanna point that
hook
out
of this young man that's 21-year-old telling a 52-year-old to say something disgusting like that.
So you admit that it's disgusting to think that you could choose to be attracted to your mother.
We got to stop there that you've been voted out by the majority. Please return to your seat. If you want to be the next debater, please get to the chair in 3, 2, 1.
Howdy.
Hi, Dean. How are you?
I'm doing phenomenal.
My name is Zuriel.
Zuriel, it's a pleasure
Nice
to
to
meet
meet you.
We're going to go back to the prompts. I think that Donald Trump is a misogynistic sexual predator. The reasons why I think this are some of them that I shared with the last guest. It's because I think that Donald Trump is a He had a civil court determine that he raped a woman by the name of E. Jean Carroll. We listened to that clip of Donald Trump bragging about engaging in sexual violence. Listen, I take a sexual predator to be somebody that is engaged in sexual violence. Donald Trump bragged about that when he said he'd barge into the dressing rooms of the women at Miss Teen USA and Miss USA. If Donald Trump's admission of guilt in that clip that I played to the last lady is true, and this is indeed something that Donald Trump has done, then by definition, Donald Trump would be a sexual predator, and thereby, by definition, I'd be right.
Can we both agree that people in power of elitists, people up there in politics, all have their own, maybe their own immoral traits to why they're running for candidacy? Like we've heard about Epstein files,
Yes.
about all these different people that, maybe they're not really here to make a change for us.
Yes.
Can we agree with that?
Yes.
I could care less about what Donald Trump says on the media, because I believe as long as he does his very best to be a good president and do the best for this economy, I don't vote for a president.
The economy is in the shitter right now. The macro variables of the economy are worse now than they were under Biden. Just want to point that out there. And Biden didn't cause a bad economy. That was COVID-19. Just want to point that out there again.
Based off, their character. I vote for them based off what they can get done, honestly.
I would like to just take a moment. Let's look at what you said.
Okay.
Are you saying, Dean, it's true Donald Trump is a misogynistic sexual predator, but I could care less because of his policy?
What I'm saying is,
Can I just get a straight
we
answer?
obviously can't deny that maybe he has bad traits of his character. I'm not going to agree that, I don't know everything about Trump like you do.
Okay,
But
let's start
what
from
I
the
care
top.
about is his economy. I don't care about what he has to say on
Let's start from the top of this
the
debate.
news.
You sit down. I tell you Donald Trump is a sexual predator. I tell you he's a sexual predator because he raped a woman and boasted about sexually exploiting beauty pageant contestants.
The reason why I'm not responding to your claim is I don't know much about what you see in the courthouse
let's just
and
test your
whatnot.
logic. What do you say, Dean, even if it was true Donald Trump was a sexual predator, because you don't know about the evidence for it, which is something you should look into on your own time, I would
Right.
still support him as president and could care less. Is that your position?
I would still support him as president because he does what's best for the economy and for the American dream.
Yeah.
Okay, we got to stop.
Every
We got to
person
pause
within
there.
that.
And she got voted out.
You've been voted out. We got to pause there.
Sounds good.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
I don't really like
I
those,
would still
surrounded
support
because,
Donald Trump as
I'd rather have the 2v2 or the 1-on-1 that we saw Parker do, or the 2v2 that we saw Dean and Parker do. But again, it's just people can get out quickly or not get out for a long time, and it's very
Listen, I think that
unfortunate.
you've heard my arguments. You happen to be sitting in a position where you could hear my voice. Mike is yours.
Okay, so my question is, because you mentioned Donald Trump going into the women's locker rooms,
Yeah.
are all trans people sexual?
Again, like I said in the beginning of the live stream, MAGA goes low. You bring up Donald Trump's sexual exploitation. Talk about trans people. You bring up men are better at leading than women. The first guy said, "What is a woman?" Trying to be transphobic. Why does every single Trump supporter hate trans people to the point they want to ignore the misogyny, ignore the sexual exploitation, and just hate on trans people? That's a genuine question I need to be answered.
Predators.
So I would not say that trans women are sexual predators for using the women's restroom.
If anyone used a position of power, vulnerability, or trust for sexual gratification, they'd be a sexual predator. Doesn't matter if they're cis, trans, straight, gay, part of the LGBTQ community or not. Doesn't matter what race they are, gender. They would be a sexual exploiter. Doesn't matter who they are.
I think that the definition of sexual violence would be any sexual act that is done without consent, and I don't think that this would be true of trans women who use a women's restroom. And I have an argument for why I think that trans women should be able to use a women's restroom, but let's try to take advantage of our time. Instead of me giving you my argument, let's just hopefully stay on topic with the claim that Donald Trump is a sexual predator because he's raped a woman. He's boasted about sexually exploiting women by barging into their dressing rooms and looking at their naked bodies without consent, and telling Howard Stern how much he loved it and how incredible they looked. He's mentioned the Epstein files over a million times.
The young women in sports who do not want biological men in their dressing rooms, doesn't that go against them?
Well,
what about their?
No, because trans women are women, A, and B, we should allow trans women to use the women's restroom because it's the safest for all. Or gender neutral restrooms is also a great idea. I think it's safe. I mean, we've seen some models in Canada, Nordic countries, et cetera, and they work pretty decent. But the point is here, no, that's not the same. Someone using the bathroom of their gender is not the same as someone walking backstage using their position of power, i.e., being the owner of a pageant, to watch little girls and women get undressed, right? Trans people aren't going to the bathroom to watch people get undressed. They're going to the bathroom to use the bathroom, wash their hands, and leave, right? They're not going there to watch people get undressed or whatever else Donald Trump has done throughout his life.
Their safety.
I would love to have a conversation with you about trans people in dressing rooms, or sorry, more so locker rooms. And I understand where you're coming from if you say, well, I don't want a trans woman in my dressing room because I would see their naked body and their genitalia.
Well, no, it's not,
the reason why I get it, the reason why I understand where you're coming from is because even when I go into my gym's locker room and I see other dudes with their dicks out, I'm like, hey, bro, I don't really want them to see me. I don't want them to see me.
I don't care
So
about
I advocate, one moment, I advocate for unisex, unistall, one person at one time changing rooms in locker rooms and gyms and sports across the country.
The thing is,
that's my position.
Let's
talk about the claim that Donald Trump is a sexual predator.
Part of the claim.
Well, you're not.
Part of the claim is not trans people. The claim is Donald Trump is a misogynistic sexual predator. That is
to accept that Donald Trump is a sexual predator.
I can accuse you of being a sexual predator.
And if I admitted to doing it, then it would be true. Donald Trump admitted to barging into those dressing rooms and a court.
And then victims came out and said that there were some girls using as 14 and 15 years old. So the victim's testimony is corroborated by Donald Trump's own admission of guilt.
Found him guilty of raping E. Jean Carroll.
No, he didn't. No, they didn't. That's a lie.
They certainly did.
No,
In 2023, civil trial in federal court in Manhattan, a New York jury found Donald Trump liable for sexually abusing and defaming E. Jean Carroll and awarding her $5 million in damages. On the verdict form, jurors did not find that Carroll had proved quote-unquote rape under the specific New York legal definition used in the case, but did find that Donald Trump sexually abused her. Judge Lewis Kaplan later explained that the conduct the jury found could reasonably be described as rape in ordinary modern usage, even though the legal judgment was sexual abuse / battery and defamation. I want to add one more thing here. So yes, the judge then clarified that yes, it was rape, but we have to understand the law specifically qualified rape to be penile penetration of a female member. Right, which means that like men can't get raped under that law, right? But then in 2023, after this case, they updated the law, and now if the case was done today, it would have qualified as rape, because it was Donald Trump forcefully penetrated E. Jean Carroll's vagina with his fingers. That's what he did. That's what the jury found. At the time, it wasn't rape, as his fact just says, but now it is considered legally rape. But again, laws are done upon our morals. Right, not our morals are upon laws. So I just want to point that out there.
Yes, they did. Listen, do you accept that the definition of rape would include the penetration of a woman's vagina with any part of a man's body, including his fingers?
Without consent?
Yeah. So specifically, the action that the jury found Donald Trump guilty for was forcefully penetrating E. Jean Carroll's.
I think what's going on right now in the world with men and women is that women are accusing a lot of men of rape. And until I see...
Because a lot of men commit rape.
Actual proof, because a jury can just agree with anything. That's something else, okay?
Until there is of the evidence, 51 to 100%. That is what a civil court does. They can't just agree upon anything. Just want to point that out there.
Actual proof and evidence, and if you can show me the proof that Donald Trump raped her, then fine.
Thank you so much for the great question. What's all the evidence? So the first form of evidence that we would have would be E. Jean Carroll's testimony, in which has maintained consistency for the last...
Before Dean gets into this, I have someone in my chat saying it wasn't guilty, it was liable. You're lying. I don't know if I said guilty. The fact check, I read the fact check word for word, and then only added after what the law was. So if the fact check said guilty, that's what the fact check said. I read the fact check word for word. I want to point that out there. First off. Second off, guilty colloquially means just to be found responsible of doing. Example, I say I'm guilty of eating a cookie. I am responsible of eating a cookie colloquially, right? I wasn't found guilty in a court of law of eating that cookie. I am just guilty of, breaking my diet, right? I'm guilty of doing that. I'm guilty of eating chips. I'm guilty of doing, etc., etc. It doesn't mean I was found guilty in a court of law. Guilt does not always mean in a court of law. Example, I feel guilty of something. There's different messages and different terms of the word guilt/guilty. Let's continue.
Last 30 years, as corroborated by 4 of her friends that testified under penalty of perjury. The second form of evidence
And no
that we'd
one's
have
lied
here,
under penalty of perjury.
well, can you please
Sorry.
examine the evidence in which I provide as soon as I'm done providing it?
By the way, if people lie under penalty of perjury, why is the DOJ actively investigating E. Jean Carroll and they have yet to found anything? Nothing. They have found zero, nada. They have found nothing. Let's continue.
We have therapist notes from the 90s indicating she was raped by Trump. We had the testimony of a psychotherapist that said when E. Jean Carroll was testifying to the fact she was raped by Donald Trump, she was exhibiting signs consistent with true trauma that we'd expect to be onset by a true victim of rape. Then we have Donald Trump's lies and inconsistencies. He lied. He said that he never met her as a part of his testimony for his defense. And then E. Jean Carroll responded by submitting a photo of them together to the court.
Do you
we also
remember
have, I'm not
every
done with the evidence. I'm not done with the evidence. We have another line inconsistency on Donald Trump's behalf. He also said that he never raped her because she wasn't his type, but then he confused a picture of E. Jean Carroll to be his ex-wife Marla Maples under deposition, so clearly she was his type. Then we also have E. Jean.
So true. He did lie. So Donald Trump does have a lot of inconsistencies, as Dean pointed out, and E. Jean Carroll kept her story consistent for decades, and her friends did too. Let's continue.
Carroll's dress. E. Jean Carroll submitted a dress to the court, claiming it was the dress that she was raped in by Donald Trump. Court confirmed it had male DNA on it, and then when the court asked Donald Trump to provide a DNA sample to test against the DNA in the dress, he said, no, 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 no. Doesn't sound like something an innocent man would do.
That's true, and I can give you guys an analogy. Example, if a person is drunk driving, they are more likely to decline any breathalyzer because they know they are. But if you aren't drunk driving, typically you are going to take that breathalyzer, so you just go on with your day, right? You also have those people that fight for the Constitution, fight for the amendment, so that our constitutional rights don't get violated. So it is true that Donald Trump had the option to or not to give his DNA, but at the end of the day, if I was in that situation or anyone else is in that situation and they were innocent, we would have provided our DNA. That's what a reasonable person would do to prove their innocence and to not pay millions of dollars. Because he didn't provide his DNA to prove his innocence, he now had to pay millions of dollars and have that on his record and be known as a sexual abuser.
And then the last and final piece of evidence we have would be his character priors. Listen, we all know that a one-time felon is around 73% more likely to engage in another felony compared to somebody that's never committed a crime in their life. The same thing rings true about being a sexual predator. So because Donald Trump has character priors with engaging in sexual predation, like the dressing room clip, proudly boasting about sexually exploiting naked women and girls, or like the Access Hollywood tape where he literally said that he would just grab women by their vaginas without asking first.
This is true.
And that's precisely what the jury found him guilty of doing, or everything to do with the Epstein files. That in consideration.
Credible accuser accused Donald Trump of child rape. This was someone who was trafficked by Jeffrey Epstein. They accused Donald Trump of Jeffrey Epstein trafficking her to Donald Trump. They were around 13 to 14 years old. They were deemed credible by the first Trump admin, by the way. I just want to point that out there. And they want to settle it with the Jeffrey Epstein estate. So if you want to say you believe the Jeffrey Epstein victims, especially the ones that won settlement, you'd have to say you believe her who said that Jeffrey Epstein trafficked her to Donald Trump.
With the direct evidence submitted by E. Jean Carroll and his lies is absolutely what
like I said, people on the right always pivot to Bill Clinton, trans people, or Joe Biden sniffing kids. If Bill Clinton is found doing anything wrong, put them in prison, right? That's why I support investigations for anyone and everyone, including Bill Clinton and Donald Trump.
Demonstrates
DNA,
Donald Trump raped E. Jean Carroll.
Okay, we got to stop there. We got to stop there. The flags are up. You've been voted out. Please return to your seat.
Yeah.
If you want to be the next debater, please get to the chair in 3, 2, 1.
Hi.
Nice to meet you. I'm Gina.
Nice to meet you too, Gina.
Thank you. First of all, if Trump was truly a predator, he would have never reported Epstein to the feds.
Donald Trump did not report. Jeffrey Epstein to Jubilee. Donald Trump did call, not Jubilee. I don't know why I'm saying. Donald Trump did call the sheriff's department saying, quote unquote, we all knew what he was doing. I'm glad you caught him. You should look into Ghislaine Maxwell. This only confirms that Donald Trump knew what he was doing per his own words, but he didn't come forward until after he was arrested in 2006. Let's continue.
He didn't.
In the 90s, he did.
Do you mean 2006?
Yeah, sorry, 2006.
That's okay.
Also, was he ever on the island?
Well, I don't think that there's any evidence to demonstrate he was on the
never
island.
on the island.
Because I don't think he needed to go to the island to get it off.
No.
Listen, about the 2006 quote-unquote report to the feds about Epstein, he didn't report him to the feds. Epstein got arrested, and then Donald Trump turned around, called the local sheriff and said, oh, thank God you got him. We've known about what Epstein's been doing all along, which A, indicates that Donald Trump knew what Epstein was doing with Maxwell and didn't report to him to the cops prior to Epstein's original arrest. And B, indicates that Donald Trump has been lying to us about the nature of his relationship with Epstein for the last 10 years.
No.
We've all heard Donald Trump say that he never knew what Epstein was doing, was never involved, and was completely oblivious. But according to that report to the sheriff, of course he knew.
Okay, so first of all, if he did do something, believe me, they would have found it. They had to make the
They did. He raped E. Jean Carroll. They found that.
Russian dossier up. They had to make things up to get Trump. Trump doesn't have to be a sexual predator. Any woman would love to be with Trump. Okay, any woman.
Do you have a husband?
No.
Okay. Wait, well, let's actually test that. Could I have all the women with husbands or boyfriends in the room raise their hands? So her claim is that any woman would love to be with Trump.
Love.
Would you guys cheat on your husbands and boyfriends with Trump?
Well, we didn't say if they were married, not if we were married.
I mean,
Instead of anybody who's in a relationship, is there anybody who would want to be with Donald Trump?
Let's do it the other way
He
around.
doesn't have to be a sexual predator.
Who? Okay. All right, listen, put your hand up if you would have sex with Donald Trump.
There's no way. I fumbled.
Oh, geez.
If I was married to Donald Trump.
Put your hand up if you would have sex with Donald Trump.
You got 1, 2. You got 2 people. Two people
If
from
I
my
was
side.
married
That's
to
probably
Donald
more.
Trump, yes.
That's crazy, by the way.
And I'd love to be.
Crazy work. He's an 80-year-old man.
Would you, do you prefer Clinton? Why don't we talk about
No,
sexual
no one
predators as
prefers
far as
Donald
Bill
Trump or
Clinton?
Clinton.
Why? It's not
Okay,
about the
because he's a predator.
Okay, and if
Trump
he is,
doesn't
burn him,
have
throw him
to
under the
be a
jail. I don't
sexual
care.
predator. Trump did report him to the feds.
I thought I clarified
when-
that's not what
well,
happened.
You're wrong.
I'm wrong. Show me that. Give me
Virginia,
evidence.
first of all, Virginia Guthrie worked at Mar-a-Lago in the early 2000s, and he prompted her to come and work for him as a massage therapist. Trump was pissed, and he reported Epstein.
Okay, well, I would recommend looking at the fact check that will likely be on the video screen
Fact
that
check,
says,
FBI records,
actually...
summarizing a 2019 interview with former Palm Beach police chief Michael Ryder, I think that's how you pronounce it, said Ryder told agents that Trump called him in July 2006, more than a year after Palm Beach police began investigating Epstein following a report involving a 14-year-old girl. According to Ryder's account, Trump said, and I quote, "Thank goodness you're stopping him. Everyone has known what he's been doing," end quote. Said he had kicked Epstein out of Mar-a-Lago and described Ghislaine Maxwell as Epstein's operative and quote-unquote evil, urging investigators to focus on her as well. This account has been reported publicly through an FBI official. Said that the Bureau was not aware of corroborating evidence for the call.
He placed this phone call after Epstein was arrested to thank the cop and to tip them off about Ghislaine Maxwell, because that's what the fact check is going to say.
What's the difference?
It does say that, by the way.
Well, the difference is in one scenario, he's reporting the crime to the cop to then get Epstein arrested. In the secondary scenario,
What's
he's
the
thanking the
difference
cop.
between him saying, "I'm glad you caught him," to, "Hey, there's this guy that's a sexual predator and doing horrible things on an island. Catch him." The difference is in one instance, the second one that I provided, he's actively snitching. On the second one, he isn't. He's just covering his ass. What are we doing?
After Epstein's
And
arrest
he
and indicating
added
that he knew
to
about what he was
the
doing.
indictments.
I think that in many scenarios, what we'll see from quote-unquote co-conspirators of criminals is, well, once their friend gets arrested for the same crime that they committed, we'll turn around and be all lovey-dovey to the police to try to, indicate and promote the idea that they weren't involved. And the only reason why I bring this up isn't to say I know with certainty that this is exactly what Trump did, but is rather to give plausible doubt to your argument that because he did this, we know he's not a sexual predator, even though he admitted to it on Howard Stern's radio show, and even though a court found him guilty of
A court never found him guilty of first.
Lots of reading. Case 1. Carol 2. On May 9th, 2023, a New York federal jury found Donald Trump liable for sexually abusing and defaming E. Jean Carroll, though not for rape, under the specific New York legal definition used on the verdict form. The jury awarded Carroll $5 million in compensatory and punitive damages. Case 2. On January 26, 2024, a second federal jury awarded Carroll $83.3 million in additional damages for Trump's 2019 defamatory statements. In that trial, jurors were not asked to reiterate, I think that says, whether Trump sexually abused Carroll. The court had already treated the first verdict as establishing the relevant defamation issues, leaving damages to be decided. New York provides a 20-year statute of limitations for civil claims arising from conduct constituting certain listed sexual offenses. Carroll's battery claim was possible because of New York's Audit Survivors Act, created a 1-year look-back window from November 24, 2022 to November 24, 2023 for otherwise time-barred adult sexual abuse claims.
First of all, if he was guilty of, he'd be in chains right now.
That's not how civil courts
They
work.
had to make, yeah, it is.
Civil courts don't send people to jail. They hold people financially liable. That's the nature of our criminal justice system.
But he would have been in jail.
You're not familiar with statute of
The
limitations.
fact check has already proven it wrong 2 times. A, he was held liable for sexual abuse, colloquially known as rape, and B, this fact check right here says a 20-year statute of limitations for civil claims, right? The only reason this was possible was because of that law that they changed for 1 year that allowed thousands of victims to hold their abusers accountable civilly, not criminally.
Limitations, then.
I'm familiar with
What's
that.
the statute of limitations?
You can only
20 years, by the way.
accuse somebody within a matter of time, but right now
so
it's
if
30
E.
years.
So if E. Jean Carroll,
Right now
came
it's
out
30
after
years.
the statute of
She's
limitations had
out of
passed
her mind,
for
she's
sexual
insane.
abuse in the state of New York
If
against
you're
Donald
okay with
Trump,
that.
do you agree
Insane
that
is
even if she had a
insane.
video of it happening to her, he wouldn't be in jail because the statute of limitations had
That's not
passed?
true. There is no statute of limitations when it comes to.
So by the law, the
Civil
crime that
claims,
Donald
yes,
Trump
there is.
committed per the New York State legal definition of rape and of sexual abuse in 2019 through
He never
2022
committed that crime.
was specifically sexual abuse, because legally speaking in New York, they only defined rape as penile penetration of the vagina. And she testified that he raped her with his fingers instead of his penis. So
No,
because of that,
that's a lie.
it would
There's
be
no
legally
proof of that.
categorized as sexual abuse, and that's the crime that had a
She's
statute
out of her mind.
limitations
She's
on it.
insane, and they threw the case out just recently.
Okay, why
Okay,
do
we
you think
got to
she's out of
pause
her
there.
mind?
We got to pause there. You've been voted out.
That's a blatant lie.
Um,
These people
I just want to get a
lie
real
for
quick
fun.
raise of hands. This is not to shame anybody. I was just genuinely curious. Raise your flag really clearly so we could get a poll. If at Donald Trump's when he was in his 40s, if you think he was an attractive man. I just want to get a raise of flags.
Wow.
This is so concerning.
Keep your flag up if you think he is currently still hot.
Half
Okay,
of them
I
still stayed
I
up.
appreciate it. All right, if you would like to be the next debater, please get to the chair
I
in
can't believe
3,
these people are
2,
real. There's
1.
no way these people are real. They're maybe 45 minutes.
All right,
No way
Lori,
these people are real.
Mike, and the
There's
floor are
absolutely-
yours.
Okay.
What are your thoughts
They
about
gotta
Trump barging
colloquially
into the
come
dressing
together and
rooms
say,
of the
"Hey,
Okay,
Democratic
you know,
contestants?
you may not
People
imagine
like
this,
that.
but when I was your age, I was a model. And I can tell you for a fact, every fashion show, every modeling call, there are men in the dressing room. There are makeup artists, there are designers. It's not uncommon. And you're making it as if it's this big, huge deal.
It
Donald
is.
Trump
Sexual
at the time was
exploitation
the
is a
head
big
of the
deal. I
Miss
just wanna
Universe
put
and
that
Miss
out there.
USA pageant. It wouldn't be surprising if I was in there changing for him to walk in. And you guys, let's look at the camera. He's got a face for that one too. Let's go to E. Jean Carroll since she already went over this for
Can I
20
respond to
minutes.
that?
Sure, but we're down to 1 minute.
It'll
You've
only
already
take
talked
me
about
5
this.
words.
Go.
Trump said that there were no men anywhere.
Well,
more
I don't
than
care
5
what he
words,
said. I'm
Jamie.
saying
You're
as a
listening to
woman
a
that's
lie.
been backstage at many
Well, he
fashion
was the
shows,
owner.
there are
He was
men
the one backstage.
everywhere.
He said that he
well,
was
and
the
I'm
only
sure
man
that there
back
were other
there.
men. Forever or just that instance.
He said
I'm
that
not
there
buying
were-
it. Okay, we got
That's
50
what he
seconds.
said
I'm going
out of
E. Jean
this.
Carroll.
Fuck.
E. Jean Carroll, number one, the statute of limitations had run out. Number two, for a very long time, she never reported it to anyone until Reid Hoffman paid her to freaking go after this lawsuit.
A
Why
nonprofit
she
backed,
is-
backed by billionaire Reid Hoffman helped pay some of E. Jean Carroll's legal expenses after her civil litigation against Donald Trump was already underway. But public reporting and court rulings have not shown that Hoffman paid her to, quote, go after, end quote, Donald Trump or orchestrated the case from the start. Federal prosecutors have reportedly been examining the Hoffman-linked nonprofit's funding of her litigation. However, the U.S. Attorney's Office in Chicago has stated that it is not open and has never opened a criminal investigation into E. Jean Carroll herself. Carroll has not been charged with perjury.
is now being charged with perjury.
Carroll has not been charged with perjury. That is a straight up lie. I said they were investigating. The DOJ just a couple weeks ago was investigating her for perjury, but she has not been charged with perjury because she didn't commit perjury. What are we talking about?
Not only that, as a celebrity walking into Bergdorf
Just
Goldman's,
because you're a celebrity
you don't
doesn't mean you can sexually exploit 14-year-olds.
think that anybody would have a picture of him. And no offense, I don't trust a woman that named her cat Vagina and freaking was sexy and charged.
She didn't say rape was sexy. She said most people think as rape to be sexy, in reference to rapists who commit the action and the crime of rape. Right? And if you are a victim of rape, or if you're a victim of really anything, you're gonna have this different understanding on how of your surroundings, basically. And if this wasn't true, then there wouldn't be a subsection on any pornography website for this specific action. Right? I'm sure you guys know what I'm referring to. Now, is the claim that most people think this to be true? No, I don't think that's true, but that doesn't mean what she said is she thinks rape is sexy, because that's not true. And we're going to roll the clip.
Say it's a fight. That way I'm not the victim, right? I'm not the victim.
You don't feel like a victim?
I was not thrown on the ground and ravished, which the word rape carries so many sexual connotations. This was not sexual. It hurt.
But I think most people think of rape as it is a violent assault. It is not.
I think most people think of rape as being sexy.
So what Dean and what the fact check said was true. What she said was wrong. She said it was hurtful, and she said most people think rape as being sexy, and some people do. That's why there's a subcategory on literally any pornography website you go to, which is unfortunate.
21 other men with that crime.
Eugene Carroll said her cat name was Vagina T Fireball, which is documented in her own social media and profiles. In 2019, CNN interviewed with Anderson Cooper. She said, quote, "I think most people think as rape of being sexy. They think of the fantasies," end quote. Carroll was explaining why she resisted describing her alleged assault as rape, end quote. She said that the word carries sexualized cultural connotations that did not match her experience, which she described as violent and painful and not sexual, quote unquote. She was not saying rape is actually sexy or endorsing that view. Her book describes, quote unquote, 21 hideous men in her life and includes multiple allegations of serious sexual misconduct, but there is no evidence that she publicly accused 21 men of rape. There's only one other man that she accused of rape, which, by the way, dozens of other women have accused this man of rape. A CEO, I'm forgetting of which company, but dozens of other women have accused of rape, and she alleged that it was in an elevator, right? But the difference is she didn't go after him because he didn't defame her. Donald Trump did defame her.
I get another fact check.
You go ahead and fact check.
Right
Larry King,
yeah, I will.
said rape was sexy.
Oh, you're wrong about Larry
King,
too. It
literally says, and I quote, I think most people think of rape as being sexy. So she's wrong.
No, I'm not.
Your mind's a mess. Okay.
Your mind's a mess.
You know, Lori, there's something quite barbaric about MAGA, about this alt-right movement that's hinged on this praxis of propaganda and useless and futile lies. And then when anybody tries to check these lies, well, then all of a sudden, the provocateurs of this movement get mad, start screaming, start yelling, start saying that they kicked our asses, and then they don't let us speak. Listen. You made a couple false claims. You claimed that E. Jean Carroll had said that rape is sexy on an Anderson Cooper interview. That's not what she said. If you watch the interview with Anderson Cooper, you will hear her say verbatim that what happened to her was not sexual, was not sexy, quote unquote.
I don't think Dean is gonna play this clip, so roll the clip. I'm sure when I edit it, I already rolled the clip where she said that people think rape is being sexy, but roll the clip of what Dean is mentioning.
Hurt. And then Anderson Cooper responded to E. Jean Carroll by saying, well, I think that most people think of rape as like this hurtful, violent thing. And then she responded by saying, well, actually, I think most people think of rape as sexy. And the reason why she said that is because we form our own versions of reality predicated on our own experiences.
So
when you have the experience of sexual violence, when you have the experience of sexual violence, when you go through the experience of sexual violence,
I've been through sexual violence. Have you?
Yes. When you go through the experience of sexual violence, you're more likely to be more hypercritical and aware of crazy people in the world around us that downplay it, legitimize it, or fantasize about it. So maybe it was descriptively incorrect. It wasn't true when she said most people think of rape as sexy, but regardless of that, that's not her saying that she thinks of rape as sexy. So stop misinterpreting the genuine claims made by a victim of predicated off of the trauma that they went through. Quite frankly, Lori, I think that is disgusting.
Well, I think it's disgusting because I was a victim of actual and abuse. And if
Saying
you want to
quote-unquote
compare
actual rape is absolutely disgusting. E. Jean Carroll is a victim and a survivor of rape of Donald Trump, and it's absolutely abhorrent that she says quote unquote actual, trying to downplay the rape of E. Jean Carroll.
what happened in the Epstein files, let me just tell you, I was one of those little girls. Okay?
I'm sorry to hear that, Lori.
I was one of those little girls, but the guy was Hugh Hefner. So for you to sit there and say it's disgusting, I'm sorry, I don't agree with the woman as a woman who was abused. I don't agree with the attacks falsely on
Don't agree with women, and you yourself are a woman who was abused. I just don't understand why everyone coming up here argues against themselves. Like, I'm not even joking. You're arguing against yourself, against your own rights and your own deserved privileges.
Donald Trump because of the crap that your side always has to push because you got such bad TDS, it's insane. That woman is a nut job. I knew somebody that worked with her at Simon Schuster, said that she was so inappropriate. She also accused 21 other men of the same freaking crime.
Name 5 of them.
I don't know their names.
Because they don't exist.
We're out of time. We have to pause there. Great job, everybody.
My next surrounded claim is abortion should be legal.
Dean's claim is abortion should be legal.
If you want to debate this claim, please get to the center in 3, 2, 1.
Hello again.
Welcome back. Mike's yours. I'll let you take it away.
Okay, well, I have a question for you.
Okay.
Do you believe in equality?
Well, I mean, I think that's a very vague question, but generally, of course.
Okay, so if you do, then all humans are equal, correct?
No, I don't think that all humans are equal, and I don't think you do either.
Oh, I absolutely think that all humans have a right to life, liberty, and a pursuit of happiness.
Really?
It's part of our Bill of Rights.
Okay.
And if you actually love our Constitution and our Bill of Rights, then you would believe what I believe.
Well, I mean, it says
Donald
people,
Trump
but small
expressly called
distinction
the
there.
execution
I want to
of
ask you a
16
question.
Democrats.
Is it murder for a doctor to pull the plug on a brain dead patient in the hospital?
Some people actually write what they want done. You know, they say, hey, if I become brain dead, then pull the plug.
Yeah, but for instance, if they don't do that, okay, like, for instance, I haven't done that. If when I leave the set today, I get into a nasty car accident, I get T-boned by a drunk driver, I go brain dead. Okay, would it be murder for like my family to tell the doctor at the hospital, well, because he's brain dead, let's just go ahead and pull the plug? Would that be murder?
I honestly, you're talking to someone that is very skeptical of doctors, okay? And even they talk about brain dead people that weren't actually brain dead.
True.
So that's why I always leave up to everything to God. So when I die is when I die.
I want to clarify
So
that.
I actually don't want to be killed, but
No shit, you don't want to be killed. I hope you don't. When I die, and I leave it up to God. That's what Republicans believe, and that's why 50,000 people die because of the lack of access to preventative health care, right? 50,000 people every year die because of lack of access to preventative health care. That's what happens when you hold those beliefs.
now if you're on all these machines to keep you alive, if it's months and months and you're not getting better, then you're using machines to keep you alive.
But they're still alive, and you still don't think it's murder to kill them. So you actually don't think that all humans have this intrinsic right to life? And by the way,
I never said no. You don't speak for me. Again, I just told you I don't believe in doctors.
Okay.
So I don't go to the hospital.
I have a very
that's
insane.
I have not gone to the hospital in a long time.
Okay. Well, I hope that you know.
Because
I want to add on a
believe
point of
when it's
clarification
my
here.
time, it's my time. Now, question for you.
All right.
So when do you think life begins?
I think that life begins at the moment of conception.
Good. I'm glad you believe that.
You're a Christian and you base your morality
and that's
off
called
of
science.
Christianity.
And see, it seems like
Can I
the
ask
people
you
that
a
say
question?
we're anti-science, they're anti-science because they don't believe man and woman. They believe genders.
I want to ask you a question about abortion.
Okay.
You made the claim that all humans are equal. Every single human has the identical right to life. That is a claim that fundamentally everybody
it depends.
rejects
Actually,
in one way
actually,
or another.
I didn't say that. So, see, you're putting more into the sentence that I did not add.
Your opener
okay, I
was
said
about equality
for life,
for everyone.
Liberty and a pursuit of happiness.
Which
now,
would be
if you're a
the right to
murderer,
life.
I do believe in capital punishment, but because of your actions.
Okay.
So
That's
where I
So
don't
when she
believe
said
in
everyone has the
equality
right to
is
life.
like,
Can we
is a
push
baby
the
and a
abortion
murderer the same? No, because a baby's innocent. A
there are
civil
some
society
circumstances where she
protects the
believes
most innocent and vulnerable.
that
They don't
that
go and
penalty is
murder
okay.
them. That is a satanic society, and I
Yeah.
reject a satanic society.
Okay, we got to stop there. You've been voted out.
Okay.
If you want to be the next debater, please get to the chair in 3, 2, 1.
Hi, Tish.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well. Why should abortion be illegal?
Well, let me ask you something. Abortion is legal here. What procedure do you prefer? The suction, the dye, and the what is it?
I don't know. The most brutalistic, gross one where we chop up all their limbs and throw them in the trash. Listen.
Really, that's gross.
Okay.
That is so gross.
I know. I'm rage baiting you. Listen.
I have 4 children, a set of twins. I would never ever do that to my children. And would you have your girlfriend do that to your?
You have a choice not to do that or to do that.
Your child?
Well, ultimately, I think it's.
Or do you have a girlfriend?
I do.
Oh, you
ultimately,
do?
I think that it's a choice of the woman. So if you want to tell me that you never get an abortion,
no,
all the power to you. I love that for you because that's your choice, and I think that's great. But listen, I don't think that abortion is murder because I don't think that there's any trait that we could identify to be true of a fetus in which we fundamentally would value enough to grant the right to life. The last person on the mic said, well, fundamentally, all humans have the same right to life. And that's something that we hear from a lot of pro-lifers. As I was attempting to communicate to her, everybody rejects that view in one way or another. So I want to hear your argument insofar as why it's morally wrong for a woman to get an abortion outside of its gross. Because grotesqueness doesn't arbitrate morality. Like, taking a shit's pretty gross. Shit smells like shit, right? Okay. But we're not going to say it's morally wrong to take a shit, even though it's gross. So what's the argument that abortion is wrong?
Well, let me just ask you this. Everyone's really, really focused on, it should be the right for every woman. Why don't you think about it the other way and think about why don't you prevent all these women who don't want to have babies? Why aren't you guys helping them prevent pregnancies?
We do.
Sexual education, easy access to contraceptives, progressive policies to help new moms. These would all reduce the amount of abortions that happen per year, not overturning Roe v. Wade, because since the overturning of Roe v. Wade, there's been an increase in the amount of abortions. So I don't know what you guys are talking about.
I agree we should.
Yes, we
100%.
should.
We need access to comprehensive sex ed in schools. We need free and fair access to
in schools?
Yeah, of course.
At what age?
Is at an age-appropriate level, I would say starting in late middle school. Because, I was in middle school, you were in middle school, we were all in middle school. The second thing that I think is also important here would be free and fair access to contraceptives. And we should also try to find ways to limit financial instability in young women and young men, because the leading cause of women accessing abortion is financial instability. But you still haven't answered the question, and you've been up here for a while.
Okay.
I want to hear why you think that abortion is wrong. I think that you're struggling to come up with an argument.
Because it is murder.
And the definition of murder would be the unjust termination of a human life. Explain why you think it's unjust.
First of all, a woman who has a pregnancy, a baby in there, they have the right to life too.
What grants the fetus the right?
Okay, but just because a fetus has the right to life doesn't mean that overrides the bodily autonomy of the woman, right? Nothing overrides the bodily autonomy of a person. There's the examples of the kidney. There's the examples of getting T-boned and needing a kidney. We can provide all these hypotheticals, and no other circumstance does anything or any necessary life, right? If someone is dying, that doesn't necessarily mean that we have to provide them our bodily resources, right? Because then that would override our bodily autonomy, and people have the right to bodily autonomy.
Right to life.
What grants it just that it's been conceived?
Or the fact that it's a human?
It is a human.
Okay, so brain dead patients have the right to life too?
So what, brain dead?
Yeah, they're human.
You know what? I've heard of brain dead humans coming out of comas.
Then they're not brain dead. The definition of brain death is irreversible cessation of all cognitive function. Do humans who are biologically alive because of machines with irreversible cessation of all cognitive function have the right to life?
I haven't really researched that. So if there was no hope, possibly.
Okay.
They should. I mean, that's not my decision to make. That's a family member's.
Okay. So you think it should be up to the choice of the family to kill a human?
You know what? No,
that doesn't have the right to life.
Doesn't mean.
So you don't think that all humans have the right to life?
Brain
So why does
dead,
a fetus?
but if they're brain dead, are they really alive?
Yes, biologically they are.
You know what? That's a determination that I would have to take with a medical doctor.
Let's say the same thing about women for abortion. Then.
No, I don't believe that a woman has that even right. That a woman should be able to get an abortion here in California.
Yeah.
No,
Okay,
I don't.
We have to pause there. You've been voted out.
Thanks for your time, Tish.
Okay, if you want to be the next debater, please get to the center chair in 3, 2, 1.
Hi, Dean. I'm Enya.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. So I couldn't hear a lot of what you were kind of saying a while ago, but what were you saying was brain dead people about if they should be unplugged?
Well, I brought up a brain dead patient as a counterexample to the claim that, well, the reason why it's immoral. The reason why it's murder to kill a fetus is because the fetus is a member of the human species.
Yes.
So brain dead patients on a biological level.
And they should not be unplugged. And I think actually any argument that anyone makes for a brain dead patient to be unplugged is actually coming from the doctors who want to harvest organs and to promote the organ donation industry culture. And I think that any kind of promotion that even manipulates families into unplugging their brain dead relatives is also immoral.
Yeah, I think we agree. We agree on that.
And so
organ harvesting aside, if a family wants to unplug a brain dead family member because it's the end of the world,
that is immoral.
that would be murder?
Yeah.
Organ
but I think the
harvesting
doctor,
aside,
it would
that
be
aside,
murder from the doctor in the same way that...
So you truly think it's murder to kill any member of the human species? What about a zygote?
That is also murder.
So if I kill a unicellular organism, I'm a murderer? Do you think that all murderers should go to jail?
Human zygotes. It's about humans.
So do you think that all murderers should go to jail?
All murderers should be put into trial and tried.
But if they're truly murderers, like that's an uncontestable fact.
Then yeah, they should be put to death.
They should be put to death.
I do believe in the death penalty.
Wow. Okay, so here's the thing.
The death penalty
Do you know what an
just
IUD is?
contradicts abortion, right? Because abortion is the right to life, right? I thought people had the right to life. Now it's people have the right to life if they haven't committed horrible crimes.
Yeah.
So an IUD, an intrauterine device, in some circumstances,
I already know where you're gonna go with this.
allow for conception to occur.
Yeah.
But then it will implant. Then it will prevent the implantation of the now conceived zygote.
The purpose of the IUD
Can you
is
please
to
allow me to
prevent
finish?
implantation. If it leads to death,
Yeah.
then it's not. Then it didn't fulfill its purpose. It went beyond that.
That's a secondary purpose. So the main purpose of an IUD would be to prevent conception, but when that fails, the secondary purpose is to then prevent its implantation. So if a woman knows that sometimes IUDs will allow for conception to occur, then they kill that conceived zygote, and they still yet choose to be sexually active, then inevitably they conceive a zygote and it dies because of the IUD.
I think that when people
Under
have
your view,
IUDs
they're murder.
Advanced shows that both copper normal IUDs primarily prevent fertilization by impairing sperm function, blocking sperm from reaching the egg and altering the reproductive tract with every high effectiveness before an embryo ever forms. They also include local changes in the uterine lining that can, in rare cases, make implantations less likely, but major reviews conclude that post-fertilization effects are a minor, quote-unquote, last-line mechanism, not the main or routine way IUDs work.
It is not for anything beyond just the prevention. It is not done for the murder of any kind of implanted zygotes.
Because it's a secondary purpose and function of the IUD. If a woman knows that, then she's agreeing to the culpability
of right, it's just like not as likely to happen.
Okay, and under your view and hopefully mine, that would be murder, given that the person that she's killing through her actions by secondary order.
But that was not
is
the
valuable.
primary purpose of the IUD.
Well, if I buy a gun with the primary purpose of going hunting, but then one day I get really mad and I use it to kill my neighbor, okay, I'm still a murderer.
No,
if I
the
buy
primary
my
purpose
car
of
for
the
better analogy that I think I've heard Dean and many other creators use is buying a firearm, using that firearm and shooting it at the door, right? Into your neighbor's door, right? It's basically what what is analogous, right? It could unalive the person. It could be a 1% or 100% chance that it could unalive your neighbor. Or
primary purpose to shoot. Your primary purpose is hunting. Your secondary purpose by that
a better example is a car.
Argument was to shoot that
if
person.
I buy a car to get from point A to point B, but then one day I get drunk and I use it to like wipe out a family of 5, am I a murderer?
Yes.
Even though that wasn't the primary function of the car?
Yes.
Okay, so then even though killing a zygote is not the primary function of an IUD, when it does kill a zygote, under your view, it's murder.
But even though the primary purpose of the car is for driving, you used it for something beyond that. Its secondary purpose was not to be driven drunk and kill.
Well, the secondary purpose of an IUD is to kill a zygote. But listen, I think that ultimately the primary or secondary purpose argument is irrelevant, because what we should be evaluating is, did a valuable life die, and is a person culpable for the termination of that valuable life? And if a valuable life died and a person is culpable for the termination of that valuable life,
because it was used only for its primary purpose
then
of
it's murder.
preventing the pregnancy in the first place.
Okay, so I just want to clarify. You don't think in all scenarios when an individual terminates a valuable life unjustifiably so, and they are culpable for said termination, that they're a murderer? Well, then you're just completely redefining what murder even is by introducing the abstract nuance of this quote-unquote primary or secondary purpose argument.
You're the one who brought that up.
At the end of the day, the fact of the matter is, in many scenarios, women will get an IUD knowing that in many cases, the IUD will lead to the death of a conceived zygote. And they will know it will lead to that in many scenarios. Then they will still choose to be sexually active, and then the IUD will kill. Under your view, that would mean that that woman is culpable for murder. Therefore, under your view, that woman should be executed.
You kind of said a
We have
lot
to
there.
pause there. You've been voted out.
Okay.
That's why I don't like.
If you would like
I
to
said,
be the next
people don't have
debater,
chance
please get to
respond,
the
whether it be
chair in
left or
3,
right, or whoever's in the
2,
middle, or whoever's on the other side. You know.
Howdy.
Hi, Shannon.
Hi. Shannon, Dean, pleasure to meet you.
So I want to know why you think that killing babies should be legal.
Of course, because I'm a brutalistic Satanist and I love
Not
the
babies.
DNC and I'm the leader of Antifa. Listen,
Mhm.
the reason why I think
By
abortion
the way, but not babies. Babies are post-birth, not in the womb. Just want to point that out there.
should be legal is because I don't think that abortion is morally wrong. I think it's a permissible action. And because I think it's a permissible action, I therefore don't see any good reason to infringe on a woman's bodily autonomy in the legal prevention of her access to abortion. Therefore, it's a human rights violation.
So you don't understand it as like killing. You don't think it's killing a human being.
No, I do.
And you're okay with that.
Yes.
Okay.
Because I don't
You
see
don't
anything
think that
morally
we
wrong
should
with it.
focus.
People can say that's crazy, but they don't have an actual response. Killing isn't inherently wrong, i.e., self-defense, and many other examples. But like, they can say it's crazy, but they can't argue against it. You know what I mean?
It's more on preventable measures because you don't have to have an abortion.
Oh, well, I also disagree there. I do think that we should focus on preventable measures. In my optimal society, there's 0 abortions, okay? Not because we're forcing women to not get them, but rather because the conditions in which lead women to get them don't exist, such as poverty, financial instability, a lack of sexual education, the failure of contraceptives. In my ideal society, those things wouldn't exist.
Do you know that if a woman gets
Is it
pregnant, she's not
precisely
financially able to keep the
good,
baby and she doesn't want the
sexual
baby, she could at
education,
least take
access
Plan
to
B.
Yeah,
contraceptives,
and I think that
good
that would be
financial
a
stability.
good fact of sexual education to share with the world.
It's like
that
20
Plan B
bucks.
exists. Well, I mean, actually, Plan B is $55. There's off-brand versions that are 20, and I think that that is a good piece of recommendation. But ultimately, if they don't take a Plan B, or whatever like happens after the pregnancy, they should be able to access abortion. Hey, I want to ask you this question: do you think that victims of should be able to access abortion?
No, because they could also take a morning after pill if they get. If I were to get, I would go take a morning after pill the very next day.
Wow. So you think that a victim would have an obligation to maintain a pregnancy? Is that because that if they were to like cessate or stop the pregnancy, the fetus would die? Okay, of course it is. So I want to ask you a question. Do you know who Max Irby is?
No.
So Max Irby is a 14-year-old guy, and he's in dire need of a stem cell transplant. And this is a true story. You could look it up. And his stem cell type is so incredibly rare that his father set up a quote-unquote
is actually a
fundraiser
true
for his
story, by the way.
son,
They've done, like,
taking
40
random
million.
DNA samples in from people across the globe. So far, they've collected 40 million samples, and there hasn't been one match. What this means is that there's probably only one match alive on the face of planet Earth that could provide stem cells to Max Irby to save his life. So let's hypothetically assume that you are the one and only match for Max Irby's stem cell type, and the government finds this out. Then the government forces you to provide your stem cells to
This
Max
is what I meant by saying like nothing overrides someone's bodily autonomy. Doesn't matter what situation they're in terms of blood cells for Max Irby or a kidney. Let's say I even caused the accident. That doesn't override someone's bodily autonomy. That of the woman or the man.
Irby without your consent for 9 months, introducing many physical and mental complications. Do you think that'd be just?
No.
No, because they shouldn't be able to force you to provide your bodily resources to another life, even if not providing your bodily resources would mean that other life dies. That's my position on victims of. They shouldn't be forced to provide domicile in their uterus and access to their bodily resources to the fetus, even if stopping the sustenance of those bodily resources to the fetus means the fetus dies. No difference than Max Irby.
This is a tough one for me because I have mixed feelings about it, obviously, because that's a horrible situation to be in. But I do, like I said earlier, morning after pill.
Well, could you respond to the
Okay,
argument I
we
gave
have
you?
to pause there. You've been voted out.
Hey, listen, I appreciate you for the respectful dialogue.
By the way, I want to tell you I respect you a lot.
Well,
I
thank
saw
you.
when you cried for Charlie Kirk. You actually have a soul.
Have a good one.
Oh, Dean. Oh, Dean.
If you want to be the next debater, please get to the chair in 3, 2, 1.
No way the meme got into Jubilee.
Hello, I'm Georgia.
Georgia, pleasure to meet you. You said that you
The
work for a
meme
pro-life
got
org?
into Jubilee.
Yes, I do.
Very, very
All right,
interesting.
let's talk about it.
Do you guys
So-
focus on like preventative means from pregnancy in the first place? Like, do you guys have like policy initiatives to like reduce financial instability or poverty in young
So
women?
what abortion does is it incentivizes people to live in a promiscuous way that further increases the rates of pregnancies that are not in a stable situation like marriage. And so I'm actually against contraception.
Being pro-contraceptive would save the lives of more innocent babies under your view because then
So-
they'd be
You're against contraceptives? What? So, you're against contraceptives, and you think abortion should be illegal? Most abortions are because of failed contraceptives, by the way. And then because they can't afford it, the child. Okay, continue.
Killing an innocent human being is always wrong. Abortion kills an innocent human being. Therefore, abortion is always wrong.
Yeah, I reject P1.
And allowing abortion just reflects our overall decay as a society when it comes to the way we view sexuality, marriage, and it just leads to a culture of death. When you have abortion, it leads to things like MAID in Canada. What abortion is we're allowing the government to have the authority to define when personhood begins, because we're separating it from the moment of conception. And if it's not at the moment of conception, then the most powerful person gets to decide when it begins. And that's always subjective. And when more powerful people have that authority or allow themselves to have that authority to define when personhood begins, you have grave travesties like slavery. If it's a subjective line, then when does that begin? When does personhood begin? And when you say it doesn't begin at conception, it's actually what you're arguing is a very suspicious, mystical idea of when it does. And that sounds more superstitious than Christianity.
Well, thank you for your comments. About your syllogism, I'd reject P1. Don't think it's always wrong to kill an innocent human being.
To intentionally kill an innocent human being, you don't think it's always wrong to intentionally kill an innocent human being?
Like I've said
Why?
to the last 5 guests, I mean, we do that to brain dead patients all the time.
Okay, so that's to
And
withhold care from them that sustains their life.
Okay.
That's different than intentionally going there.
You are withholding quote unquote care that sustains a fetus lives. What is the difference between a fetus and a brain dead patient?
And killing them.
Okay, so then you're on board with the abortion pill, withholding the
but what's the
progesterone
difference?
supplied through the umbilical cord that would sustain the life of the fetus.
I'm completely against the abortion pill.
But it's just withholding care that would sustain the fetus's life.
It's different though in nature, because what we're doing is what occurs in the uterus is solely for the service of the fetus. The uterus does not exist to serve the woman. They exist to serve the child. What abortion is just the actual destruction of that child. It reflects the destruction of our idea of parental duty. Parents have a duty to care for their children. What's your question?
My question is, let's just like envision a hypothetical of like a 9-year-old girl getting raped and impregnated, and we know that pregnancy is not going to kill her. Per your syllogism that you gave earlier, it seems to be the case that you'd argue it would be wrong for her to get an abortion. Is this true?
Abortion only continues to perpetuate violence, the cycle of violence. It only increases the trauma to that child. And what we would do, we would still try to minimize the trauma of pregnancy for that 9-year-old.
Yeah, so you would minimize the amount of trauma that the child has to experience. Pregnancy is child torture. I just want to point that out there. I think Dean might mention
I am completely against abortion in all cases, period. And that's the consistent pro-life stance.
Wow. What about when it's like the life of the mother on the line?
Okay, so that's nonsense. What we have is we have C-section. And so
what if it's before
the
viability?
Life of that simply does not happen. That's simply
a
lie.
Abortion is never medically necessary before fetal viability is false. Serious or life-threatening pregnancy complications can occur before fetal viability, and in some cases, doctors may determine that ending the pregnancy is necessary to save the pregnant patient's life or prevent severe harm. These cases are uncommon, but they do happen.
Okay with it?
There's no what ifs. Listen,
it
simply does not happen.
It does absolutely happen.
Okay, our medical technology is so sophisticated today.
Can you just answer the question? Like, would you be okay with it?
The idea that there is a black and white, the life of the mother. The technology we have today is where we can operate on fetuses, and the child can continue.
If a medical health professional determines that a pregnant woman will die if she doesn't get an emergency C-section or abortion.
Okay, then do the emergency C-section, Dean. You just proved my point.
No, I didn't.
Yes, I did.
Because it's before viability.
Okay, when's viability? Viability is based on technology.
I'm going to go ahead.
Changes.
It is.
Viability
I
is
just
at
want
week
to ask
20.
my question.
One day viability might
So
be
the question
at
that
the
I'd
first
like
trimester.
the question that I'd like to ask you is, let's assume a woman is pregnant. It's before viability, per the technological innovations and standards in America, because that's where we live.
When does personhood begin, Dean?
I'll happily
when does
answer
it begin?
your question.
When should abortion be legal?
So I think that personhood begins around 20 through 24 weeks with the thymocortical connections, the emergence of a mind. But my question is, if there's a woman that's pregnant, it's before viability, per like the technological innovation in America, and a doctor tells her that she needs to get an emergency C-section or abortion. It doesn't matter because either way it's going to kill the fetus. And the doctor says if she doesn't get this emergency C-section or abortion, then she's going to die. Would you be okay with her getting what? interested. It's. I want to see where your ideological underpinnings fall.
So I noticed how that's one of your debate strategies. You corner us into these questions. I'll answer your question.
Thank you.
So what doctors do is they take an oath that says do no harm. Doing an abortion not only does obvious harm to the child by killing the child, but it actually does a lot of physical trauma to the mother.
Yeah, less trauma
It does a
than
lot of
childbirth.
trauma to the uterus. And not only that, but many women end up being suicidal after abortion. But regardless of that,
Can you answer the question,
we
though?
have this very backwards view of the technology that we
But this
have
is
now.
MAGA. They don't
There
answer
simply are not cases where women need to get abortions in
Notice
order
how
to
she's
save
not
their
answering the
life.
question.
Because it's not a scenario that actually exists. A lot of
Well,
these
then I
doctors are
highly
committing
implore you
medical
to do your
malpractice.
research.
And they're actually lying because
So,
they have an agenda. They don't-
If it were to happen, would you be okay with that woman getting an abortion?
Absolutely not, because that doesn't happen.
So if it did, you wouldn't be okay with her getting an abortion? That's
cases
insane.
in which it
Fuck.
does, see, we're talking
Okay, we got
about
to pause there. We got to pause there. We're kind of at an impasse. We've also run out of time, so we're going to move on.
My next surrounded claim is Donald Trump is a terrible president.
All right, if you want to debate this claim, get to the chair in 3, 2, 1.
Hi.
Hi, welcome back.
Yeah.
I don't know, let's see. Donald Trump is a terrible president because he slept his way to the top.
No, I actually think that.
Remember that? That was
Well-
brutal. Hey, listen, floor's
he didn't
yours.
do that,
Why
so-
do you support Trump?
I think that he's obviously done a lot of things. I can't say he's a perfect person, but I do think he has done things to benefit us.
What is one macroeconomic indicator that's better off today than it was a year and a half ago under Biden?
Closing the borders.
So that's not a macroeconomic indicator.
Yeah,
A
it is.
macroeconomic indicator would be something like GDP growth,
closing the
unemployment,
borders is not an
inflation,
economic
jobs
indicator,
reports.
by the way.
And by definition, a macroeconomic indicator is just simply a gauge that we could use to determine the health of the economy overall. So
Yes,
once again,
absolutely.
speaking about GDP growth, inflation, like wages,
Well,
so on and
health
so
of
forth.
the economy. If
what's
I can dive into that.
one indicator that's better off today than it was a year and a half ago under Biden.
The amount of drug use and fentanyl in society has gone down
Okay.
miraculously because he has
That's-
closed the border and illegal drugs are no longer allowed to come in.
Do you understand the question I'm asking you?
Yeah, I do, and I'm answering it.
So the amount of people that use drugs in society could, of course, influence macroeconomic variables. Like if everybody was drugged up all the time, nobody could go to work, right? So therefore, the macroeconomic indicator of like unemployment would be really high. Okay, so it's not directly the macroeconomic indicator, but
Crazy
rather it's an
scenario.
influence of the indicator. So
everyone's-
directly, what is one
everyone's on it,
macroeconomic
therefore
indicator
nobody
that's better
works.
off today than it was a year and a half ago?
Everyone's
Keep it in
unemployed.
mind that macroeconomic
Communism,
indicators
I
are
figured it
things like
out.
inflation, GDP
BRDS
growth, wage
involves
growth, real
communism.
median wages,
Drugs is
unemployment,
communist.
job reports, so on and
Quite
so forth.
frankly,
Same thing. I'm going to go with drug use.
Dude. Okay.
Dude, I'm a
Listen.
girl.
So what macroeconomic indicators did drug use influence? Are you saying that now we have like a
can
lower
go with
level of
another thing
unemployment
about the
because of
border
that?
by closing the border and not allowing illegal people in here, giving
Jesus.
me and so many other people job opportunities that they weren't allowed to have before because
there will be
companies were
500,000 immigrants removed, 44,000 U.S.-born workers would lose their job per the American Immigration Council.
employing illegal immigrants, just like the weed farm in California that Newsom was directly supporting. They
Yeah.
had children at the age of 9 years old illegally here working for them. Those people are no longer allowed here, giving job opportunities to others. That is benefiting the economy. Period.
So is that why we added the lowest amount of jobs to the economy in 20 years, ignoring recessions last year under Trump? Is that why we have the highest
said
level of
they're opening
unemployment since the
opportunity.
pandemic?
Is it not
So-
opening opportunity?
Yeah,
by,
it's not.
No.
The reason why
It
mass
is.
deportation.
It is actually. It is.
The reason why
For-
mass deportation doesn't open up job opportunity in America is very simple. Because ultimately, undocumented immigrants as a demographic are very economically productive. They pay over $100 billion in taxes
And
per
those
year
jobs
on
are
the federal,
now
state, and
open for
local
real
level.
Americans
and they
to
pay
have.
in $1.1 through $1.7 trillion to the GDP
they
annually.
actually don't.
And according,
They actually don't.
And
Have you ever
immigrants
met
that's
an
are
illegal
required to pay
immigrant that
taxes under IRS rules in practice. They pay on the order of $90 to $100 billion per year in the federal, state, and local taxes, with economic models indicating that they contribute to overall output and that removing them would significantly reduce the U.S. GDP. That's per the Jubilee fact check and also the American Immigration Council. That also says the exact same thing. I want to add one more thing here. That is what they directly contribute, and what they indirectly contribute is billions more.
pays taxes?
So-
I'm sure you haven't.
so my source is the IRS. Do you think the IRS is lying?
Absolutely. I'm sure they can lie about statistics all the time.
So Donald
And
Trump's IRS is lying about how
it's
much.
not Donald Trump's IRS.
Well, that's what the IRS is saying today. Who's the president?
No, well, the
Who-
statistics. The
do you-
statistics
do you
came
know
in
who
from
Scott
years ago.
Besson
You've
is?
used that since the last time we were here.
Do you know who Scott Besson is?
No,
He's the administrator of the IRS. Do you know who he's appointed by?
Donald Trump. I'm
Donald
going to
Trump.
assume.
And Scott Besson and the IRS under Trump still report that. And listen,
And
it's
so you
not
don't
a
believe that
contestable fact.
removing a certain population can allow opportunities for others to come in. You
Because it
realize
makes the economy less productive.
I have family
Yeah.
that are refused opportunities, healthcare, and other resources due to the fact that it's oversaturated by people who do not have a citizenship here. And by closing those borders and not allowing those people to come in,
Undocumented immigrants can't receive benefits.
it gives them the space to have that, because that's what my tax dollars should be paying
So
for.
do you think that undocumented immigrants can access like federal Medicaid, Medicare,
They
so on and so
can,
forth?
actually. They can.
Do you know what the Personal Work Order and Responsibility Act is?
I actually know that they can, because I
Do
have
you know
family
what the
members.
In 1996, Congress passed the Personal Responsibility and Work Opportunity Reconciliation Act, the welfare reform law associated with the phrase "quote-unquote" ending welfare as we know it, end quote. It ended AFDC as a federal cash welfare entitlement and replaced it with TANF, a cap block grant to states with work participation rules and a 5-year lifetime on most federally funded cash assistance. The law also sharply restricts many non-citizens' access to federal public benefits, including limits affecting some lawfully present immigrants. The reason why it says many non-citizens is because lawfully permanent residents are non-citizens as well as green card holders. They're here legally, so specifically undocumented immigrants. So all undocumented immigrants cannot have any federal funding.
Personal Work Order and
That can perfectly walk
Responsibility
in
Act.
and they can get checks month per month, living month per month, and we support that. Our tax dollars that we pay, we support
Can I
that.
get a yes or no? Do you know what the Personal Work Order and Responsibility Act is?
I believe it has something to do with jobs and paying taxes no matter year.
No. The Personal Work Order and Responsibility Act is a bill from the 90s that strictly limits and prohibits any type of federal public welfare benefit
And
from being
not
given
everywhere follows
to
the law, obviously.
undocumented
Here in California, we have
immigrants. I'm going to continue to speak. There was one slight addendum to this with Obama's EMTALA, which just says that undocumented immigrants can get life-saving emergency care if they need it.
Which that
But
was
the point
bipartisan, by
is,
the way.
when you
Republicans and
suggest that
Democrats agreed
undocumented
to
immigrants are
bipartisan.
reliant on these federal systems of
And
benefit,
they are.
anyway,
They
from
are.
Medicaid to Medicare to Section 8 to food stamps, they're not. It is
They are.
literally
They
illegal for them to
absolutely
collect
are.
those benefits.
And they do anyways, because
listen,
states like
by-
California allow it.
So
we pay for it.
you're
I believe.
confused.
No, I'm not
What you're
confused.
confused
I know
about
exactly,
is a difference between
exactly what I'm talking
limited state-level benefits and federal
Medi-Cal
benefits.
and
So you're
Medicare.
right.
But it still happens on some level. Can you acknowledge that?
At the federal
In 10
level,
over 50
undocumented
states,
immigrants are
undocumented
generally
immigrants have
barred
the
from
limited
core
ability to
safety
collect
net programs,
But that's still-
such as Medicaid and CHIP, Medicare, SNAP, SSI, TANF, and ACA marketplace coverages. I need to go back. I'm so sorry. Such as emergency Medicaid reimbursement for emergency care for people who otherwise meet Medicaid rules. Some states use state funds to fill parts of that gap. California expanded full scope Medi-Cal to income-eligible residents regardless of immigration status, including adults 26 to 49 as of January 1st, 2024, and nearly 1.7 million undocumented immigrants have reportedly been enrolled. However, California has since then moved to freeze new full-scope enrollment for many undocumented immigrants starting July 1st, 2026. These are state-defined, state-funded expansions, not a separate federal safety net system. So once again, proven wrong.
Like my brother with disability that
Yeah.
truly need those things are being cut.
They're completely different systems.
They're being absolutely not.
Yeah, they are.
Nope.
What's Medi-Cal?
Medi-Cal, my brother gets Medi-Cal, and they also get
No,
Medi-Cal.
it's specifically
yes,
a
they
system
do.
of benefit for undocumented immigrants that no
No,
longer
my
exists.
brother
Your
literally
brother's-
just got something in the mail
your
that
brother's-
says for Medi-Cal.
Your brother's on Medicaid.
No,
on
he's
the
not.
state
He's
level.
on Medi-Cal.
Listen,
honey.
the point that I'm trying to make here.
I'm filing for a conservatorship for my
So
brother. I would know exactly what he gets.
the point that I'm
and
trying to
it is
make
getting
here.
cut day by day because of the oversaturation and the overpopulation of people we don't even know exist.
Okay, I'll
and we
wait
are
for you to
paying
finish.
for them.
Okay.
So do we
We know
not
they
acknowledge
exist.
that by closing the borders, like I'm going to go back to my point, just like you like to do with everybody else,
Trump
I'm
did
going to go
not
back to my
close the
point that by
borders.
cutting that population off and allowing more space for opportunity for Americans would
Trump
benefit
has
the
worse
economy.
border
So you're saying that
security,
you
by
pay
the
for
way.
the benefits of undocumented immigrants when they're paying over $100 billion per year in taxes on the federal, state, and local level. Well, guess what? They're paying for their own benefits in the 10 limited states that give them. In
No, they're
fact,
not. Do their jobs.
I mean, this is just anti-intellectualist propaganda. That's what the IRS says. That's what the Cato Institute, who's ran by libertarians, which is right-leaning,
that's
says.
disgusting for you to say.
I think it's
Pause there. With the
disgusting for
pause
you to
there.
be hating
You've been
on
voted
other
out.
Daughter of immigrants, by the way, and supports Donald Trump.
Right. If you want to be the next debater, get to the chair in 3, 2, 1.
She was stressing. She was.
Hi, nice to meet you. Marika,
Hi,
remember me?
ma'am. It's nice to meet
Nice
you.
to meet you too. I want to talk to you about my point of view as a Mexican American Jewish. I'm not saying Trump is perfect, but I'm saying the reason I vote for him and I would vote again. First of all, I want to touch the point that she said about borders, but not about the people. I'm talking about the drugs and the traffic that is coming from my country.
Mhm.
And it's from my government, because Mexico has a narco government. You know who's the only one who has the guts to go right now and deal with the president? Trump, because the other administration didn't do it.
Yeah.
Who went to bring Venezuela, Maduro, to the jail? Trump. And this is affecting United States.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not
And
saying everything
immigrants
he's doing is
supporting
great.
Donald
And
Trump,
I'm
roaches
Jewish, so I support
parade.
Israel. Who is the only one who supporting Israel? Trump. Otherwise, I don't know how we're going to be right now.
Oh
By
yeah,
God's help.
let's support a state that's committing genocide and
Oh,
ethnic
well, don't talk
cleansing of
about it, because
Palestinians
that-
in Lebanon, and let's make sure to throw $1 billion a day at a war that's killed 13 of our servicemen and women for another state, per the testimony of Joe Kent. Listen,
This is
okay,
the first
here's my point. I
ally
wanna
of the
respond-
United States.
I want to
Is
respond to the first
Israel
thing.
is the first ally of the United States. So we
Yeah,
have the
we
right to
shouldn't.
support Israel. And you know what? God said to Abraham, I will bless whoever bless you, and I will curse whoever curse you.
Yeah.
If you want to be blessed, and this country needs to be blessed, needs to bless
By the way, the
Israel
reference
first.
of the
Every
Bible
single
He be the
country
prophet.
has been, every
Not
single
modern-day
country who
Israel,
has been
but
cursed
present-day
Israel
Israel in
is,
reference
look
to
how
the
they are
This
right
is
now.
religious
you know,
psychosis.
it's not religious.
It's genuinely
It is
religious
what it is.
psychosis.
Do you
You're
see how
saying-
Chavez ended?
Listen,
He
you're
cursed
saying-
Israel from the
You are
his
saying-
intestine. He said it.
You are
from
saying-
and he's dead.
Okay. Yeah, we have to bless the ethnic expansionist, genocidal, terroristic state, or else we're all going to be cursed and die. I want to respond to the first couple claims that you made, specifically on topic with Venezuela and the border. So, who brings in 70 to 80% of the drugs into this country per the Homeland of Border
Mexico,
Security?
Colombia, Venezuela. Who is bringing them?
Yeah.
Who is supporting them? It's Mexican country. And I'm sorry to say it. I love my country, but my government is
don't love your
Okay,
country.
I'll
disgusting.
respond.
It's
Thank
a
you. Thank you for your
narco-government.
response. So 70% of the drugs sold in America, brought into America, are brought in by citizens. Why do I bring this up? Because when we say that undocumented immigrants are the issue,
There's
they're
no
the people that are just...
comprehensive federal statistics assigning the percentage across all drugs, all supply chains, and all routes. While federal data does show is narrow, most indirected F drug is stopped at official ports of entry, where CBP says cartels primarily smuggle it in vehicles driven by U.S. citizens, and 84% of people sentenced for federal F drug trafficking were U.S. citizens. In the latest U.S. Sentencing Commission Quick Facts data show similar statistics that around 81% of federally sentenced drug trafficking offenders were U.S. citizens. That supports saying U.S. citizens play a major role in F-drug / drug trafficking.
bringing all these drugs across the border, then they come here to like women and kidnap children and commit all these heinous violent crimes, is nothing more than is the demonization of a demographic that's
Okay, I
actually very
never said all the
beneficial to this country.
undocumented people are the one who bringing
But that's what Trump
to
has said.
become citizens.
And that's why you shouldn't support Trump.
I'm not telling you he's doing everything perfect. I never say that. I'm talking about the borders that we have more than 2,000 miles border with
Yeah.
Mexico, and that's where they came the drugs, and that's where they came this trafficking.
I don't listen.
People
I actually
trafficking
through legal ports of
and
entry for the most
weapons
part.
that
So
are
once
killing
again,
our people in the streets
so
right
what-
now.
So once again, a vast majority
So
of the
what Dean said, there's like data behind it, but there's no, it's like too little data. But the data that we have does back Dean's claim. So what she's saying is wrong.
drugs brought across the border are brought in by citizens through legal ports of entry. And when I give you an explanation for this, it's going to make sense to you, because think about it. Okay, when a citizen is coming in through a legal port of entry, okay, well, nobody just has the innate right per the state to pull them over, scrutinize them, check every nook and cranny of their vehicle
they should.
because of our Constitution.
They should.
But when they identify an undocumented immigrant, well, they already have an individual who's capable of breaking federal law. So then they have all the rights in the world to detain them, arrest them if they need to pat them down or check their vehicle. And that's why a lot of the drugs that come into this country will come in with citizens. But I think my larger point here is I don't think that Donald Trump has secured the border. I think that the reason why we've seen such a drastic decline in undocumented entry has nothing to do with proactive long-term border policy, but rather to do with fascism and human rights abuse. There are people in this country that are getting illegally deported and then tortured in places like CCOT. Executive
that
reclassify citizens as undocumented immigrants to be lined up and deported by the DHS, where we're watching people like Alex Spready, broad daylight by ICE
I want to
agents.
answer to you before you continue.
I just wanted to have Dean make that point real quick, but you can also make the argument that Donald Trump is actually not reducing the amount of undocumented entry that's happened. It's just simply he has worse border security, less deportations, less apprehensions, less border encounters, and we want high border encounters because that means we know that they're getting turned away. Compared to under Biden, there was higher border encounters, higher deportations and apprehensions, meaning Biden had better border security compared to Donald Trump. And comparing Donald Trump's first term to Biden's term, at the end of 2024, Joe Biden had less border crossings per day than compared to Trump's first term last year.
Hi, welcome in. I think we should start this off a little
I
bit.
didn't even sit down.
I know, I'm talking to you while you're standing up. Hi, okay. I'll slow it down. What's your name?
I'm Kaitia, but you can say Tia. It's a lot easier.
Well, it's a pleasure to meet you, Tia.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for being here. Listen, I say we start this conversation off a little bit differently. Can I tell you why I think Trump is a terrible president?
That's what I was going to ask you. I would love to know, actually.
Perfect. Well, I break it down into three main categories. His domestic policy, his foreign policy, and his character. Okay? He is the worst president of my life, the worst president of your life, and the worst president of the lives of every single person sitting in this circle. Let's start by evaluating his character. He's a 34-count felon, adjudicated rapist that has boasted about profiting the naked bodies of beauty pageant contestants.
Most of these points he's already brought up in terms of character. I mean, he's a felon. And people say they care about the fraud, especially the right. They care about the fraud, quote unquote, in Minnesota, even though Florida has a higher fraud rate than Minnesota, right? And then they say Governor Walz was responsible for that fraud when Donald Trump has been found of committing fraud, violating the Constitution, i.e. the First Amendment, Second Amendment, Fourth Amendment, Fifth Amendment, Sixth Amendment, 10th Amendment, 14th Amendment, possibly the 22nd and the 25th Amendment, the Declare War Clause, the Take Care Clause, the Taxation Clause, the Appropriations Clause, all of the above. He's a sexual predator, like Adina said. His tariff policy, his mass deportation policy, which harms the economy per studies found, and many other instances.
I haven't been in politics that long as far as like interest. It was like 2016 really opened my eyes. I never thought Trump had a chance, honestly. But I do seem to remember in 2016, a lot of the dialogue around his win was he only won because America's racist. Basically saying everyone who voted for him was racist. This is after 8 years of Obama, by the way, who got reelected. So based on that, and after 4 years of not being president and now he's back, why do you think that he won if he's one of the most terrible presidents in?
Because America's racist. You said it yourself.
First one, ask a clarifying one. Do you think that Biden was a bad president?
I don't want to talk about Biden because that's not why we're here.
Right. Okay. Well, I'd expect you to answer that question to be no, of course. But Biden got the most votes out of any president in history. We can't say just because people were willing to vote for a candidate to be president that therefore they were the best option. The reason why I think that Trump won the election had a lot to do with propaganda surrounding the negative economic impacts of the pandemic. Okay. We saw 9% high levels of inflation, roaring gas prices, and I don't think that these things were caused by Biden. But
True. Donald Trump ran on like saying Biden was sleepy, even though Donald Trump has fallen asleep more times on camera than Joe Biden. And Donald Trump also ran on saying that the economy was bad because of Joe Biden. That immigration was bad because of Joe Biden. When in reality, Joe Biden didn't really cause any of these. Could he have done better? Absolutely. But he did the best he could. And it was honestly a great administration in reference in accounting for the COVID-19 pandemic.
LA, which is like crazy, right? Do you live out here or no?
No, I don't. But you would be safer to leave your children with the average undocumented immigrant compared to the average citizen. They're 2.5 times less likely to commit violent crimes compared to the average U.S. citizen.
In my home with me, that's why I homeschool, and that's why I'm a mom, and my children come first. So for me, being able to do that is a blessing. There's a lot of sacrifices that come with that, especially in this economy. I would be lying if I didn't say, like, it's difficult with the gas prices. It's difficult with the groceries and the tariffs. There's a lot of things. Yeah, similar with Biden, there was a lot. Inflation has not increased any same amount as it did under Biden.
What did Biden do to cause it?
The money.
Yeah, just how Dean said, Biden didn't cause it, Trump did.
And look, and you can research about how much it cost us to send the amount of money that we did to Ukraine, and what.
How much money did we send to Ukraine?
What it did to affect.
Presidency, Congress approved $180 to $190 billion in federal funding to Ukraine, to the war, quote unquote, Ukraine response. A U.S. government oversight portal reports 187.7 billion in total appropriations for Operation Atlantic Resolve in Ukraine through fiscal 2024, while USA Facts calculates 182.8 billion in emergency funding for Ukraine and region from February 2022 through December of 2024, which about 83.4 billion had actually been spent by that date. Within the total, direct military assistance to Ukraine accounts for roughly 60 to 70 billion dollars, with the rest funding U.S. forces in Europe, economic support, and humanitarian aid.
Economy, and also with the undocumented immigrants.
How much money did we send to Ukraine?
They are getting Medi-Cal. They were getting money for food and free housing.
How much money did we send to Ukraine?
By the way, Trump is still sending money to Ukraine.
Dollars approximately.
Okay.
Now, here's the thing. If you're going to blame Biden's 9% high level of inflation on $220 billion spent over the course of 4 years, then why don't we see like 50% levels of inflation, considering the fact that in the last year and a half, Donald Trump has passed the big beautiful bill, which according to most estimates, is clocked in to cost us around $3.4 trillion over the course of 10 years. Or the simple fact that he's spending $1 billion a day on the war in Iran. He's going to spend just as much money on this war in Iran as Biden did in 4 years on Ukraine in less than a year.
I think
and on top of that, the cherry is Donald Trump has continued the funding to Ukraine.
The important
blaming
thing
a 9% high level of inflation on $220 billion worth of expenditures is nuts, especially when we consider that the Biden-Harris administration spent half of what the Trump administration spent in their first term.
I get what you're saying, and I think both of us, at the end of the day, we want what's best for America. I think we have different plans or strategies to get there. But the main thing I did want to come up here and say, I don't think you really answered it, was if Trump was the worst president in our lifetime, how did he win twice, if not 3 times, depending on who you talk to? Exactly. So if he was that terrible, either were the...
This was already answered. It's because America was racist. She's about to get voted out.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Just a little background. I am currently active duty in the United States Marine Corps. I'm not here on
Be careful, hashtags.
I'm not here on behalf of the Department of War, by the way. I also grew up in Jerusalem, Israel. And I think that Trump has done a lot for me personally. And I feel like that's what we should all be here speaking about to an extent. I've gotten paid more under him. I've gotten bonuses under him. The military has tightened up under him.
Bonuses, like the 1776 because the government was shut down? Whose fault was that? Oh, wait, Trump's.
And from that perspective, he's my commander-in-chief, and I'm grateful for that.
Yeah. Out of everybody sitting in the circle, you have the most reason to not support Trump. Can I tell you why?
I would love to know why.
Because of your oath. You took an oath to defend the Constitution from enemies overseas and domestic, correct?
Correct.
Can we agree that an enemy to the Constitution, domestic or foreign, would be a person who thinks that the Constitution should be terminated, is intentionally and belligerently infringing upon it?
Can you go in depth with that, please?
Well, I mean, I think that is all the context that would be required to understand an enemy. If there's somebody that is intentionally and belligerently infringing on the Constitution, has suggested that maybe we should terminate it before, can we agree that person would be an enemy to the Constitution?
That would be an enemy. I do agree with you, but I don't agree with you if you're saying that's what Trump has done.
December of 2022, Trump went on Truth Social and said that because of the 2020 election,
On December 3, 2022, former President Donald Trump posted on Truth Social about what he called a quote-unquote massive and widespread fraud and deception in the 2020 election. In the post after asking whether to throw out the 2020 election results or hold a new election, he wrote, quote, a massive fraud of this type and magnitude allows for the termination of all rules, regulations, and articles, even those found in the Constitution. Our great founders did not want and would not condone false and fraudulent elections, end quote.
Termination of all rules, regulations, and articles, including those found within the Constitution, would be allowed. And in the last year and a half of his presidency, he has directly infringed on the 14th Amendment, threatened the first, threatened the second, infringed on the fourth, infringed on the 10th, and threatened to infringe on the 23rd, on top of Article 1 and 2. Donald Trump is a domestic enemy to the Constitution.
I do not agree with that whatsoever.
So
just because you're stating all these things, kind of like a fact check, but he hasn't
the fact check prove Dean.
He hasn't actually put those in place.
Executive Order number 14160 was put in place. It attempted to take birthright citizenship away from the children born to undocumented immigrants on American soil. But that is a long withstanding ruling from SCOTUS, regardless of its prior veto in 1989, saying that undocumented immigrants are within the jurisdiction of the U.S., or U.S. versus Wonkamark in the late 19th century, arguing that the only people who do not have a constitutional claim to birthright citizen would be members of militant invading forces, foreign diplomats, and Native Americans, which was later updated through federal law. We know for a fact that the 14th Amendment covers the protection of birthright citizenship for the children born to undocumented immigrants. Donald Trump says, well, I'm going to change that, and passes an illegal, unconstitutional executive order stating otherwise. That is a domestic threat to our Constitution. You as a member of our DOJ.
The 14th Amendment clearly states that the children of undocumented immigrants have the right to birthright citizenship. Also, like Dean said, previous SCOTUS ruling, like Juan Kimar.
This is militant. This is what I signed an oath for and what I raised my right hand for. It's militant, and that has not affected us in that military aspect. I don't think so. If you could give me an example of how so, as far as like immigration.
It affected you by you violating your oath and supporting Donald Trump.
And all these people who have joined the military to get papers for their parents and stuff like that, whether they were born here or not, it's been in effect and it's been very helpful for them.
What were your thoughts on Donald Trump calling for the execution of 6 sitting Democrats in Congress who reminded you to abide by your oath?
6 what?
6 sitting Democrats in Congress posted a video saying, if you're given a legal order, you don't got to follow it. And you should know that's what the UCMJ says.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And Donald Trump called for their execution because of that.
I don't know much about that,
yeah,
honestly.
I'll tell you.
Yeah,
so
please do.
He went on Truth Social. He responded to an article talking about the 6 Dems in Congress. He posted a video saying, like, oh, you remember your oath, don't follow any unlawful orders if Trump were to give you one. And he calls them seditious traitors. Follows it up by saying traitors punishable by death, and then he reposts a follower's comment that says, hang them, George Washington would. Okay? So he falsely accuses them of a crime they didn't commit. You and me could agree it's not treasonous to tell the military not to follow unlawful orders. UCMJ once again. And then he says, well, because of this crime that he's accusing them of that they didn't commit, they need to be hung. That's him directly calling for the execution of 6 Democrats in Congress that were just simply reminding you of the UCMJ. How could you stand by such a maniac?
No, honestly, we have multiple times gone against if it does not follow along. Trump is one of them, but if they go against what the UCMJ does, we are allowed to go against that.
Yeah,
and so
that's all the Dems were saying. And then he said they need to die because they said that.
No,
yes, he said
he said what? Who needed to die?
There it is. In November 2025, after 6 Democratic lawmakers with military or intelligence backgrounds released a video telling service members and national security personnel to refuse illegal orders, Trump attacked them on Truth Social as engaging in quote-unquote seditious behavior from traitors, and wrote a follow-up post that it was seditious behavior punishable by death. He also reposted more than a dozen comments from supporters, including one saying, hang them, George Washington would.
Their sedition is punishable by death. Okay, the sedition that they didn't commit. And then he followed it up by reposting a comment that said, hang them, explicitly.
Dean is
hang
on
them.
point.
That was him calling for their execution. There's no if, ands, or buts about it. I feel like you're maybe one of the more reasonable people that I've spoken with today. You should be able to see this so clearly. And maybe this might even be an historical moment you're unsurrounded, where I'm able to change the mind of a guest on the show. That'd be huge.
That would be huge if it was going to happen, but it's not.
Oh, my goodness.
We're out of time. We have to pause there.
You're cult members, by the way.
My final surrounded claim is Donald Trump doesn't give a shit about any of you.
If you want to debate Dean's claim, get to the chair in 3.
Clear? Donald Trump doesn't give a shit about anybody in the circle. What I mean by that is just Donald Trump generally doesn't care about women. He's a very misogynistic asshole.
Promises made, promises kept.
Opposite.
Number one, he's got more women on his cabinet than most presidents did.
And he's fired what?
Doesn't matter.
That's true. 4 of them have been fired. Now, if the next person that is fired is a woman, there's a trend. And we have to notice that trend. We can't be oblivious.
They don't perform, you fire them. Pam Bondi did nothing.
Yeah, she was a terrible AG.
Exactly.
Yeah.
She did, and he didn't like that, so we fired her.
Yeah. I think Pam Bondi is the best AG to terrible AG.
She was a terrible AG for preventing the release of the files. I digress. I'm interrupting you. Sorry, go ahead.
And he pardoned the J6ers. like he said he would.
Yeah.
And now he created a weaponization fund, which I think is great. And he forego all his money, which is $10 billion.
Your taxpayer dollars are going to J6 terrorists, and you're saying that's a good thing.
And he took 1.7 billion, 1776, to give to the people that refused to take shots, that were fired because they didn't want to get the vax,
Trump issued
that were targeted.
Clemency for J6 defendants, commuting 4 sentences, granting full unconditional pardons to all other convicted of offenses related to capital attacks, while directing the DOJ to dismiss pending J6 cases with prejudice. In May 2026, his Justice Department announced a $1.776 billion anti-weaponization fund to compensate people. It said it was victim of political weaponization after legal challenges in a court block. The DOJ told a court on June 5th, 2026, that the federal fund had not been set up and is not going forward. Though a judge later kept the block in place pending further assurance.
By the Biden DOJ, grannies that were thrown in prison, people that literally just stepped foot on the Capitol grounds and were thrown in prison for years.
Yeah.
No tax on tips, no tax on Social Security,
and
the lowest prescription prices that we've ever had. Safe borders, no more child trafficking.
Okay, listen, let's start.
He cares about us.
Let's start with that $1.8 billion slush fund.
Yeah.
You said it was his personal money. That's not true. It's funded by the taxpayers.
It's owed to him.
Secondarily, it is an absolute disaster.
Just like all the money comes from
It's crazy that our president is willing to give $1.8 billion to people such as the J6 terrorists.
Who runs the DOJ? Todd Blanche, which is who? Donald Trump's personal lawyer, by the way. Just want to point that out.
Not terrorist.
Well, I mean, I think they are. For instance, there were 176 people who were criminally convicted of deadly assaults on police officers. Take, for example, DJ Rodriguez, who drove a stun gun into Officer Fanone's neck while Officer Fanone was on the ground getting beaten with metal rods.
It's been proven.
As the crowd
First
was
of all,
screaming,
videos of this, by the way.
grab his gun and kill him. And then DJ Rodriguez pled guilty to doing this in court after Officer Fanone's testimony and his body camera footage proved
Are you familiar with Roseanne Boylan? She was beaten to death by an officer, Lila Morris. Okay, nobody talks about that. Ashley Babbitt was killed, shot in the neck. She was an unarmed woman, a military woman. There was no need for that. We went there. People went there peacefully and patriotically.
Yeah.
Okay,
and that's why they were screaming, "Hang Mike Pence," right?
Well, yeah, but nobody that I've
was
seen.
that peaceful?
There was a lot of infiltrators. There was over 300 FBI agents in there.
Oh, really? Who's FBI?
Exactly, who's FBI? Right,
Well,
everybody
president?
says that.
Who was president
But
on J6?
It doesn't matter.
It does.
I read about that the
Because
other day
it was
when
Donald
they said,
Trump.
I read that in Reddit. Who's
And by the way,
FBI?
who did Trump
It was-
pardon?
It was under
Yeah, of course you read that on Reddit. Hold
Obama.
on.
Infiltrators?
It was under Obama.
Obama was
That's
president
right.
on J6?
He wasn't Obama. He wasn't president on J6. President Trump was.
Oh, my
but
God.
Obama's the one who's been trying to persecute him. Obama, Biden,
So
since day
Obama-
one with the Russian dossier. Yeah.
So Obama infiltrated Trump's FBI.
He's
and
the one,
implanted-
not just Obama, but all the leftists, all the deep state.
My
planned
friend,
that.
you've lost
Nancy
your goddamn
Pelosi.
mind.
Nancy Pelosi.
Then why? Well, listen. Here's the real
Why didn't
litmus
they have
test.
National Guard?
Well, apparently Donald Trump had the ability to call them there, and this
He
has been
tried
proven
to.
by his second term. According to Donald Trump's second
Did you not
term,
hear-
he doesn't need to try to send the National
Did
Guard
you not
anywhere.
hear
He just simply
Nancy
can.
Pelosi where
But
she
I wanna
said
do
it's
a
my
quick,
fault?
I want to do a quick litmus test on one of the claims that you made about all the J6 Antifa terrorists that were infiltrating the crowd to
I
cause havoc.
actually know that there was over 300
So-
people dressed up as
So do we
Trump
agree that
supporters.
everybody who was criminally
Antifa
convicted on J6 has
terrorists.
since been pardoned by Trump?
I believe so.
So Donald Trump pardoned Antifa terrorists? And now he's offering them
A lot of
$1.8
them
billion.
didn't get charged, though.
Prove
A lot
it.
of the Antifa people didn't get
Why
charged.
don't you give me some evidence for that, ma'am?
Well, I don't. Did Ray
So you don't
Epps
believe
get
in
charged?
So you don't believe in things, right? Without
I
evidence.
believe in
So what's the
facts.
evidence?
I believe in facts.
Okay, so
just like Donald Trump cares about
spell
the
it.
American people.
Maybe we should
America
get back
first.
to that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we got to pause there. You've been voted out.
Donald
Have a good
Trump,
one.
what?
All right. If you want to be the next debater,
What are we
get to the
doing,
chair
buddy?
in 3, 2, 1.
Howdy, howdy.
This is torture.
Hi. Welcome.
Thank you. Would you like to carry on with why you think that?
Trump doesn't care about you, doesn't care about anybody in the circle, because he generally doesn't care about women. He has had a lifetime of vapid misogyny, like the fact that he's a sexual predator, that he's a rapist, that he's overturned policy that has led to 60 pregnant victims per day being denied access to abortion in 10 every 50 states, or an attack on our economy. Everything is worse off today than it was a year and a half ago under Giga Chad Biden. I don't think he cares about you.
He almost took a bullet for this country. And he faces.
No, these are cult members. Oh my God. If that's starting off, I'm not going to listen to this conversation.
It's disheartening that the way you describe Trump, it's like you're describing a leader in the Middle East, someone that's an actual dictator, an actual fascist. And it's for someone that has traveled and has seen how other countries operate. This is the best country.
I'm not listening to this conversation. I've rage baited enough. There's
In
the
real
flip
estate,
now.
timing.
We'll wait. We'll wait. We'll wait. We'll wait. I just want to get this over with.
I don't know the facts. I also love what Trump is doing with Iran, doing with Israel.
Consistently demonstrates. Welcome back, Liz.
Hi.
All right. Well, I mean, you know my thoughts. I think that Trump is the worst president of your life, and I think that he consistently demonstrates that through his rhetoric and policy. What are your thoughts?
I love Trump. And honestly, I love everything that Trump is doing with Israel. I'm Jewish. I'm very pro-Israel. I know how you feel about Israel, but I feel like you probably don't know the facts. I also love what Trump is doing with Iran, because if he does care about women, he wants to free the women of Iran from the Islamic regime. He wants to free the women all around the world.
Yeah.
And you see,
Tell me what you like about Iran or Palestine and how they treat women.
Well, I actually want to start off with a claim that you made about Iran. Is Donald Trump negotiating with the IRGC to achieve a denuclearization agreement today?
There's no negotiating with terrorists.
Okay, well, according to Trump, that's not true. He says that there are active ongoing negotiations and they're performing greatly.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so the reason why I ask you this question is because the IRGC isn't going anywhere. Because Donald Trump has already said that he's achieved all of his military objectives in this war. He's already, quote-unquote, couped the IRGC and committed regime.
Donald Trump has said that they met all their military objectives. And the war is basically over, although it could start up anytime. But this deal, I want to preface this deal is horrible. It is absolutely horrible. Obama's JCPOA put us in a better position than this attempted memorandum of understanding, right? Because not only do we give them more money, but they get more out of this than they did under the JCPOA. Under the JCPOA, we got more out of it, right? And under Donald Trump, he signed the IAEA report that it actually was, they were not violating the JCPOA. Anyways, this lady claimed that there were billions of Islamists. Fact check, this claim is false. There are about 2 billion Muslims worldwide, but Muslims are not the same as Islamists. Islamists are a minority subject of Muslims, not billions of people. There's no credible evidence that billions of Islamists are trying to take over every country or force Islam into every household.
This is
Their
so
words,
disgusting.
not mine. How it's literally what they say.
It's
they
so
say they will not
gross.
stop until
No.
Islam is in every single household.
This
That
is
is what they
insanity.
say, and that is why we need Israel, and that is why Trump is going to do everything he can in his power to annihilate the IRGC, which is what needs to happen.
Jesus Christ. Okay, so first and foremost,
Like
if I could
Dean said.
compulsorily puke on this table without getting you dirty, I probably would, because everything that you just said was legitimately disgusting.
How is
First
that
and
disgusting?
But like Dean said, they're not going to destroy the IRGC because that's who they're negotiating with. That'd be stupid to destroy the people you're negotiating with, and then someone else come into power. You're not going to be negotiating with them.
foremost, for you to demonize and turn all Muslim people alike
Not all Muslim, no,
into
no,
this
no.
into this monolith.
Islamists,
You said that
extreme
there was,
Islamists
you said that there were billions of Islamists infiltrating
are.
every crook and cranny of the
But
world.
they are.
So I
Have
think
you traveled?
Listen, I think that we
When was
absolutely.
the last place you traveled to
let
internationally?
me respond to what you said.
Or have you gone to New York?
I think
where
that
they're literally doing prayer in the streets.
Yes, if you pray in public, then all of a sudden you're extremist. Go tell that to every Christian evangelical that put their hand on Trump's shoulder in the Oval Office on camera. It's different because it's another religion.
100%
Exactly.
different.
When it's about
Christians-
Jesus, no, listen to what I'm saying
Christians
here.
don't want to go into every single country and take over.
Listen to what I'm saying here. When it's about
Jewish
Jesus,
people don't go into every single country and try and take over.
Oh, right, and that's why they're going into the West Bank. That's why they're going to
They're
Gaza. That's why they're going to
First of all,
Lebanon. Listen to what I'm saying here.
out of Gaza in
Listen to what I'm saying here.
2005. Get your facts straight.
And what's going on in the West Bank today?
Hamas has literally been in
They're
charge of
in
Gaza since
Gaza right
2005.
now.
And what's going on in the
It is
West
a
Bank today?
recognized terrorist
And
organization.
what's going on in the West Bank?
Israel literally has backed out. When you have people,
They're in Gaza right now, and they're occupying Lebanon. That's why the deal almost fell through with Iran.
you have a tiny little country the size of
Okay.
New Jersey.
Well,
You have
listen,
every
we're getting
single
all over the
country
place.
around
We're getting
attacking
all over
it.
the place.
What do you think is going to happen?
Well, let's hone this in. Well, what I wouldn't want to happen is like vapid war crimes.
Do you
like
think that
level
Israel
25-mile
should
radius. One moment. I don't think that any country has an inherent right to exist. I think that people have a right to self-determination. A country is a collective of people. Countries in and of themselves are not moral entities.
Explain
I
to
am
me.
explaining it to you.
No,
Let me
I
speak.
have
I don't want you to interrupt me. I want to answer your last question. You asked me a good one. You said, Dean, do you think that Israel has a right to exist? I think that question is incomprehensible. And the reason why I say that question is incomprehensible
True, if countries had the right to exist, borders wouldn't exist.
is because a state is not a body in which
any
has
right
rights.
person
People are entities in which
says,
have rights. A
Israel
collective
has
of
the right
people
to exist
collectively have a right to
actually is,
self-determination. But the social
anti-borders.
construct of a state and a government is just a figure of our imagination through the collective of civilization, not an entity in which has rights.
How many
But
Jewish
I want to
people live in
respond.
She just talks over everything. Everyone does. This is emotions.
You're
just
doing
wanna
is you're
know.
attempting to
MAGA is
overwhelm me with
emotional.
questions, which is a gish gallop. I want to ensure that I have proper time to go over every statement that has left your mouth, particularly the first statement that you made about the billions of Islamists calling them radical because they pray in public. Christians
That's
pray in
not why I
public
call them
all
radical
the
because
time.
they pray in public. I call them radical because they literally say that they will not
No.
stop until Islam is in every single household in every country and
So,
they have completely taken over. And you
I
can
think
see
that-
them say that everywhere.
I think that every mainstream religion, wishes that everybody on earth agreed with
Not
their
at
religion.
all. No.
Yes, of course they do. Let me
No,
explain to you why.
Christians
Are you
don't really-
you
no.
a Christian?
I'm Jewish.
Okay, here, listen. I'm going to ask you a question to the Christians in the circle. Do you guys think that the only way to get to heaven is to have faith in the gospel?
Absolutely. Jesus Christ.
Amen. And now I want you to
Amen.
put your flag down, if you don't want everybody to go to heaven. Everybody still has their flag up. What that tells me is that everybody with their flags up thinks that the only way to get to heaven is to be a Christian, and they want everybody to go to heaven. What does this mean? They want everybody to be a Christian. So from this line of argumentation, everybody with their flag up is a radical extremist, no different than the Islamists that want everybody alive to believe that Muhammad is a prophet.
Okay, I have a question for the circle. All of the Christians in the circle, do you believe that if someone does not recognize Jesus Christ as their Lord and Savior, that they should be killed?
No. Based.
Islam
on nothing.
does.
So, okay. Yeah, so that's a really argument.
Isn't it like aren't you like gonna like burn for eternity if you don't believe in Jesus Christ? Like in the quote unquote afterlife? Don't you die and then like go to hell and burn forever? It's just a moot point.
We could do the same thing to the Christian
Why are
Bible.
we being snowflakes over religion, bro? Grow up.
Sudden, it is totally okay to own slaves because of Leviticus 25 verses 44 through 46. Genocide is totally fine sometimes because of 1 Samuel 15:3, and sometimes it's okay to like impregnate kids because the historical representation.
I have to preface, Dean is mentioning extremist points of Christianity, Islam, Judaism, all these different religions.
Isn't to shit on Christianity as a whole, but it's rather to say that when you read any religious text through that fundamentalist perspective, you could always yield grave immoralities like slavery, pedophilia, or killing people who disagree with you. But the thing is that a lot of Christians, alongside a lot of Muslims, don't hold to that fundamentalist interpretation of their
right.
Of people,
That's exactly
people
the point.
are allowed.
Video, I ask that you look around the circle and select some.
Dean debates Shiva, I believe, or Chiva. Yeah, her. Democrats sold out our country. If you want to finish watching, it's a 10-minute debate. That it's her claim. I'm done being rage baited. I will see you guys in the next video. I appreciate you guys for pulling through.